Hi, Angela.
Hey, babe.
Happy live.
Happy live to you.
What day is today?
Thursday.
Today's Thursday, yeah.
Yep.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Isn't Thursday the best day?
Is it?
No. Well, it's up there. It's a good one. It's the day before Friday.
I don't know. Does it really defeat Saturday? Saturday's probably the best day.
No, of course, those are the heavenly days, But happiness increases as it moves towards them.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Monday being the most miserable. They call Wednesday hump day for a reason. Because it's all downhill from there. Bobo's here. What's up, Bobo? Good to see you.
Hey, I have a question for you.
Lacey's offers a happy Thursday to you.
Oh, wonderful. Happy Thursday, Lacey.
Happy Thursday, Lacey. Yes.
I have a question for you. What do you think right now?
Yeah.
The heist thieves, the Louvre heist thieves are doing right now?
They're I think they're grappling with greatness. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think you're at this point where it's like, I have to keep my head together because I've just pulled off one of the greatest heists in history in broad daylight in an era when these should be impossible. So I'm fucking amazing. And I have to figure out how to deal with that so that I can stay feet forward and on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, scientist.
I wonder how it goes. I wonder what the organization is like. Like whether the thieves actually still have the loot or whether they passed it off.
Dude, that's probably the other thing is they're working, right? Certainly they're look, the crowns, all of that, the gems, that's all ripped apart. It's a wrap for these artifacts are done. That's a wrap. It's finished. They should grieve. And, we saw the catalog. They're beautiful things. I mean, they really are things to behold.
Yeah.
They invoke and well, what's interesting, probably the most interesting thing I heard about through all of this was when you told me that most of these gems, if not all of these gems, were stolen in the first place by the French or by the English.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, I don't think France has mines.
I don't know.
So, these were like whoever owns the mines in South Africa or, was some what's currently Sri Lanka or wherever they found all of these different gemstones, they gifted them to the royals or somehow, traded them, but none of that money ever went to the locals or the laborers, so it's just been stolen. All of it's stolen. It just got stolen back.
I can't believe it happened.
I love that for them.
There's a video out. I showed it to you. There's a video of the thing that they went up there. I don't know, what is that? What is that thing?
Oh, it's just like
it's a man thing.
It's like a
lift.
It's an elevator for like a dish. I mean, whatever, a bowl. What do they say? The basket.
It's a
basket.
We don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
It's like a basket lift.
Out of my vocabulary.
It looked like a ladder, but that was only because by the time somebody had taken a picture of it, the basket had descended. But what it does is it's just like chunk, 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 like elevates your little.
So there's video of them coming down.
Video of them coming down with all the loot, and you could see like they're both agitated.
Come on. Imagine.
They'd rather just have it drop.
If you're writing a comedy, that thing stops halfway down.
Yeah, I know.
I suppose even a drama for that matter.
But what was incredible about that video you showed me was that I guess that the alarms sounded like as they were descending.
There were alarms, so they were going down.
Oh my God, the tension.
There's somebody who's
the anxiety.
Got it on their phone. I mean, they're literally, filming it, but it looks like it's too far away to get any kind of actual detail on any face for things like face recognition.
I could never be cut out for that kind of crime.
It's so crazy because
I can't be cut out for any crime because I'm too chicken. But
we watch true crime on, all the time, and we're watching it, and it's these people, and they go and they commit these crimes, and then we watch them fucking, from one outdoor camera to another. In America, these are small time. I mean, I shouldn't say small time because these people are committing some horrific crimes actually. But
they're not like an organized group.
They're not in the Louvre, but they're not near the Louvre. Like it's like it just seems like an impossibility that you could go so undetected in what is ultimately one of the world's most, precious museums. It's just crazy.
What I never anticipate, and why I'm definitely not cut out for this kind of thing.
By the way, I saw today.
Listen, I'm trying to.
There's no insurance. They didn't have any private insurance on it.
Okay, but listen. That's pretty insane that they don't have private insurance. I'm just trying to say that, like, imagine going through the process in your head. You're like, okay, I'm going to break into the Louvre, and then I'm going to break into this other thing, and then I'm going to snatch the jewels, and then I'm going to make my way out. You think as soon as you exit the building that you're like, okay, that stressful part of the job is done. I didn't get caught while I broke in and grabbed the jewels. Now the jewels are mine. But we're seeing that as they're descending this basket ladder, and it's going so slow, and all the sirens are going, like, it must just be like once you're finally outside, that looked so stressful. And I don't know how you prepare yourself to just have that, like, kind of prolonged.
One of them's like having.
It would like fry my nervous system. Just thinking about it is harsh.
I wonder if one of them's having. Which one's the insecure one? Was it Lyle or Eric Menendez?
It was Eric Menendez was the insecure one.
Because I'm wondering if they have like an Eric Menendez of the two of them. One of them just going, man, I don't know. I'm starting to feel bad about this. Did you hear they don't have insurance?
Oh, stop it. No, they don't.
Things like somebody like saying they're going, man, we could just put it in a paper bag.
No, I mean,
outside the Louvre
listen,
with a to whom it may concern.
There's a reason why. Fuck, now I can't even remember. Robin Hood. There's a reason why Robin Hood stories are so treasured.
He's darker though, right? Than he's portrayed, right? Isn't he? Like the real dark Robin Hood.
What I
is
mean
kind
is,
of
it's
dark,
like universally accepted that
right.
it's okay and even heroic to steal from the rich and give to the poor.
Yeah. Well,
so I don't know what they're planning on doing, but they're stealing from the rich, and I don't think that they
$100 million. That lift is going down,
it's like
carrying them
victimless
down, and I'm sitting
crime.
there in my mind going, you have in your pockets $100 million worth of gems.
Somebody was saying on Twitter that they're like, in this current age when we are being bombarded by like, AI scams and like cryptocurrency Ponzi schemes and stuff, it's actually just like a relief to see somebody do one of these old school crimes, like do a jewel heist. It's kind of cool. Like we still do crimes like that.
No, you're right. It's totally refreshing.
We still got it.
Finally, a good old-fashioned heist.
Well, another reason why it's fun to get behind and like, nerd out about this kind of stuff is that nobody got hurt.
I was thinking about foul bombing yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What were you thinking about? Were you thinking about them naked?
I was thinking about them. No. Have you lost your mind?
Yeah, a little bit.
I was thinking about them.
Yeah.
I think about everybody. Think about all the people that come here. Of course. We hang out. It's so you're like, oh, it's like the Cheers or whatever.
Yeah.
You're like the bar.
It's fun.
You're like, hey, where the fuck is Norm? He hasn't been around for a while. Of course, it wouldn't be Norm because Norm, he hasn't left. He's dead and he's still there. George Wendt is gone. Isn't that sad?
Yeah, it's sad.
So
okay.
yeah, that stuff was utterly crazy, of course, and obviously we're going to keep following it. But
yeah, they don't have any suspects.
No, it's been more than 80 hours. The video is all they got.
Yep.
So far as I can find. Oh my God.
I know.
Impossible.
They said that they obtained
literally every single thief anywhere within a bus ride or a plane ride of the Louvre is like, fuck, man.
This whole time.
What? This whole time. Of course, it's not this whole time because there were some things that had to happen for this to really work out successfully for them, and they all did.
Apparently, they found a helmet that had been left behind from one of the thieves.
So maybe they have DNA.
Maybe they have DNA, but only if somebody's already in a DNA database. And it could be that if this is like a major operation, super professional operation, sometimes they use people that don't have any criminal records and have never had their DNA sampled.
Trolls here. What's going on? Love to New Zealand.
Okay, so should we begin?
Can we get sponsored into New Zealand? Can we just get sponsored?
What do you mean sponsored?
I want to get the fuck out of here. In New
Zealand. You want to move to New
Zealand?
Zealand?
If there was like a place that I could live anywhere in the world where I was like, where I felt already like before going there, confident that it's a great place to live, it's New Zealand. And you know why? It's because of their response to the COVID.
Oh yeah, I know.
That was it.
So check it out though. I admire places like Hawaii and New Zealand so much that I don't want to actually go because I feel like they deserve more respect than having like a white foreigner come show up and try and, grab a slice of their land,
I couldn't disagree with you more. I think white foreigners are awesome.
My mother told a story about how she was
Troll has spare room for us.
Her parents had actually gone to Hawaii for the day that they became a state. That's how recent it was. My mother was there.
Really?
Yeah. And it was like this big, white
Hawaii,
person celebration.
Yeah. Well, it was imperialistic takeover of a.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that islands have been taken by, it's just, of course, you see island, you're like, what the fuck is that? It's like an island. Oh, are they strong or weak? I think they're weak. Let's take the island.
Yeah.
it's just, I mean, it's just unfortunate, an unfortunate sort of.
I think it'd be wonderful to visit, but moving there, I just feel like, they don't need that from me. Okay.
Before you start,
okay.
I got one more thing before you start that I would like to go. Let me go get it right now. It's so interesting, we've talked a lot on this live about how, oh goodness, that's not what I wanted. About how it's not the SH that's at the center of any of this.
Any of what?
This issue between Baldoni and Lively. It's not what has brought this lawsuit on is the retaliation. The SH was something that was otherwise, were it not for the retaliation, would have never gone on to be anything.
That's right.
This is what we've said on this, on this live.
The very first action that Blake Lively took was because she had obtained evidence of his retaliation. So that she filed a complaint with the CRD and that she spoke to the New York Times was all a result of her having found evidence of his retaliation against her. But in absence of that, none of those things would have happened, we assume, right? Because there wouldn't have been that one reason to go. However, Baldoni did start to attack her and retaliate before she did any of those things. So he initiated. If sexual harassment has a factor in any of this, it's because Baldoni and Heath's sexual harassment at the workplace instigated him to retaliate against Blake Lively.
Yeah.
And it was the retaliation that started the whole the dominoes falling.
So in the interview with, the one thing I don't think I actually have read is the New York Times article. I don't think I've read that. Oh,
well, she's just citing all of the same text messages between the publicist and Baldoni that we have been.
Well, I think this quote comes from it. And it then just confirms everything. So the interesting thing about it is that from the beginning, Blake Lively through Megan Twohey had very succinctly stated this. Twohey says, yes, that's exactly right. And she told me, oh, I guess, no, sorry. This is Twohey's deposition, I suppose.
Megan Twohey's deposition?
Yeah. Or something, because listen to this. Yes, that's exactly right. And she told me that, listen, this was actually not the worst that I've experienced in Hollywood. I've actually experienced far worse misconduct. This is Blake Lively to Twohey.
I bet.
I spoke up because I wanted to address it, and I thought that I had, and I never had any intentions of discussing this or going public with my accusations. So we were talking, we've talked about this on multiple occasions. Blake Lively, about the accusation, she just wanted that dealt with. This person was supposed to be man enough. And this is, goes back to what I've said from the very, very, very beginning, which is that she walked into a situation where she believed that she had this man enough character.
He presented himself as a person who's always trying to improve and trying to improve to make the experience of the women around him better.
So when she saw it was in the fucking toilet.
Why is he not doing this then?
Or half in the toilet.
Yeah.
She's like, I got to speak out about this. And it's interesting because I love that she was compelled to do so because she saw the bigger picture. The bigger picture didn't involve her. The bigger picture for her was, I'm going to take my paycheck and go home. That was the bigger picture.
Right.
And she didn't take the bigger picture. It wasn't about wresting control. It was about putting this guy, it was about correcting him.
No, and after the premiere,
she's a fucking parent of 4.
I know.
Yeah. She's a mother of 4.
After the premiere, she was like, what is all of this backlash about online? And it was, he had already engaged his crisis PR, who had used this, Jed Wallace and Street Relations to create all this negative press. They were already attacking her.
Correct.
They'd started before the premiere, and then after the premiere, Blake Lively noticed, right?
Exactly.
So all of this is because of Justin Baldoni's choice to go on the attack against Blake Lively. Nobody else would have been able to do it without him. And he was the person who said to all of the people that were helping him that he wanted her to be buried, that he was hoping they could come up with a story. We need something like this, is what he texted to his publicist about an attack, a completely invented
women bullying women and all this other shit.
A totally invented attack. And
crazily.
then
I don't think anybody here would be unfamiliar with that.
And if he never did that at all, none of this would have been happening to him or any of the other defendants.
So this person posts, they say, Lively admits to the New York Times she never intended to go public or take action until she saw the communications. Right? Because the very next paragraph on this article that I just was reading from, she's saying, and then I see these fucking messages.
Justin Baldoni, he created, it's like Appointment in Samara. You know that fable?
Yeah, what's up, Delicate? Yes.
The appointment in Samara where the guy, he sees that death is coming for him and he's like, oh shit. And he runs out of town.
Yeah.
And then later on, Death knocks on his door.
I'm not home.
He's run out of town and Death knocks on his front door and he's like, yeah, I was so surprised to see you earlier because I had an appointment with you here later. Like, you can't outrun your fate. And what Justin Baldoni has done is he's created this like self-fulfilling prophecy where he was so paranoid that she was going to out him as being a sexually harasser, you know, an abuser in the workplace. And then he ended up retaliating against her in advance of her doing anything like that and created the shitstorm that he was trying to prevent. Now everybody knows that him as the guy who did the thing that he was hoping was never going to go public, but it's only because he retaliated against her to try to bury the story that now we all know it. It's remarkable.
Said Sony told Jen to knock it off before the premiere. And we know this. We know that.
Of course, because Sony was like, you're going to fuck up our business.
Yeah. You know.
What do you mean you're going to attack somebody? You're going to put out bad press before our fucking premiere? No way.
Look, no, we won't go.
A scientist said they're so lucky the movie was a success. Otherwise, they may have been dealing with a lawsuit from Sony.
You're right. That's exactly the only thing that saved them from that. The only thing that saved them from that, particularly, I mean, we literally saw in evidence Sony saying, "You're not playing ball. You're going to ruin the premiere of this movie." The launch of this movie, I think, was
greatly harm the launch of this
the
movie.
Release or launch or I can't remember which actual.
Anyway,
words.
Sony executives are saying that to Jamie Heath because he was being fucking difficult.
And then, that was after they had a call that could have lasted as long as 2 hours or may have lasted less than an hour. And then Sony executive went and had conversations with, you know, people with whom they work in concert and then responded with that text. But, Sony had clearly had it with Jamie Heath and Justin Baldoni. And I think this is the part of this story that doesn't really get realized. But I think Sony had it with those two. I think
it's clear in the messages.
I think it started out fine. They were looking forward to it. It was cordial. Everybody was good. We gave you money. We're looking forward to it. Hit book, hit movie. Let's go. We got plans. We got ideas. Let's go. It's all that stuff that you expect. And they slowly lost control of their movie. And Blake Lively, as ambitious as ever and as capable as ever, was there to try to pick up the pieces. It just seems obvious to me.
Would you like me to read any of these things that you
So now we're going into these things that we
yesterday?
talked about, right?
That's really vague.
So we're going into... Don't make fun of me on my own live.
I'm not making fun of you.
Blake Lively's
Nobody's
motion for
making fun of
sanctions.
you.
Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, Blake Lively and Stephanie Jones's motion for sanctions. They want spoliation sanctions.
Let's get into it. Let's get deep into it. Let's go.
Okay. I would like to go through 3 documents.
Okay.
2 of them are long. They're all juicy.
Let's get into the juicy. I'm ready for it.
This is the declaration from the lawyer. Okay. I respectfully submit this declaration in support of Miss Lively's motion.
From what lawyer? I'm sorry?
This is Ezra Hudson.
Thank you.
I'm going to skip this part. Okay. On August 27th, 2025, the court granted the portion of Miss Lively's motion seeking to compel the Wayfarer defendants to produce their signal communications, which the court ordered be produced no later than September 8th, 2025.
We covered it here.
On September 8th at 11:56 p.m. Eastern, the Wayfarer defendants produced over 80,000 pages of documents from the custodial files of defendants Wayfarer, Baldoni, Heath, Sarowitz, Tagg, Nathan, and Abel. I caused such documents to be reviewed by members of Miss Lively's litigation team and have personally overseen the due diligence process to confirm the following. After several days of processing, it was determined that of the 80,000 pages of documents, only 62 signal communications were produced. From any of the defendants, the 62 signal communications were largely duplicates and triplicates of the same signal communications, which were produced several times over by different custodians, and after deduplicating, yielded a total of only 7 unique,
seven actual
unique
texts.
7 unique signal communications.
God.
Out of 80,000 documents. Also on September 8th, the Wayfarer defendants filed a request for a 1-week extension to complete the court-ordered production of signal communications for defendants Nathan Sarowitz and attorneys Brian Friedman and Summer Benson, which this court denied for failure to demonstrate good cause. Despite the court's order denying leave to do so, the Wayfair defendants have made subsequent rolling productions of Signal Communications on September 12th. For Nathan, September 18th for Wayfair, October 9th for Heath Sarowitz and Wayfair. Since receiving these productions, I caused an internal review of defendants' productions to be performed, which I personally oversaw. Among other things, based on this internal review, I understand that defendants have not produced any of the Signal Communications previously produced by third party, the Skyline Agency. I further understand that none of the defendants, including defendant Wallace, has produced a single voice memo from defendant Wallace predating December 20th, 2024. However, later on they talk about how they know that those existed because they saw from another person that there's voice memos before then. In addition, based on internal review of Wayfair defendants' productions, I understand that none of the Wayfair defendants has produced Signal Communications that predate December 20th. Counsel for Miss Lively has raised concerns with the Wayfair Defendants Council, including requesting confirmation.
That's fucked up because that's all the time relevant to this whole case.
Yep.
Like after December, they're walking the tight line.
Yeah.
That's after Megan Toohey.
Yeah, it's true. And all those messages where they're sending text to each other saying that Baldoni and Heath should lawyer up. Well, they should be preserving communications after that. And that happened way early. That was in August.
Well, I think they have a duty to.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's
I think
part
there's
of this
an actual
problem.
obligation to it.
I'm skipping down to the end because she's making a list of all of the things that they are missing.
I kind of wish my name was Ezra Hudson. Have I ever told you that?
It's a good name.
Especially like for a writer. Ezra Hudson's new novel.
This concludes on September 30th, 2025. Ms. Lively served her responses and objections to defendant Tagg's second set of interrogatories, which, among other things, requested that Ms. Lively identify in reasonable detail the negative content about Ms. Lively, including through engagement of comments on social media that you allege was amplified by the agency group, as alleged in paragraph 230 of the second amended complaint, including but not limited to, for each item, content identify the actual words or other content that was negative, the name of the person posting the content, and the date the content was publicized, and a link to the content. Based on new information, including deposition testimony that was subsequently discovered, Ms. Lively supplemented her response and objections to the... So, okay. Anyway.
Scientists said that August 12th was the date when Nathan told Abel that they should lawyer up with Friedman.
Yes. Yeah, and that was a response to... Blake Lively sent that letter, that draft statement that apparently came from her and Ryan Reynolds.
This was after the premiere.
That was after the premiere, where she was like, Justin Baldoni, if you could just tell the world what we all know and agree on, and that's that you didn't want, that the cast didn't want to appear with you on the red carpet, that would be really cool because people are blaming me for that. And Justin Baldoni sent it to his PR people, and they were like, you need to fucking lawyer up, which is so dumb. So unbelievably stupid.
Yeah, that was like the biggest opportunity they had to avoid all of this. And this is so interesting because when you look at that with the Sarowitz tape, and I talked about how I felt like there was a genuine sadness in his voice, a melancholy and a dread. And that was the moment. He was faced with it. He had the opportunity. He just wasn't billionaire enough to fucking figure out that there was more to lose than to gain.
So stupid.
Or there's more to gain than to lose. Or I guess I could have gone with my original by not signing it, right?
Yeah. Okay, so dealer's choice. Okay. I mean, I guess I'm the dealer, so no, it's your choice instead.
All right.
What is it? What's the opposite of dealer's choice? There isn't one, right?
I guess that would be the player's choice.
Okay. Do you want to hear the Jones Works motion for sanctions about Jennifer Abel and how she's a lying scoundrel?
Yes.
Or would you like to hear the Blake Lively's motions for sanctions against all the...
What were you just reading? That was Ezra Hudson?
That was just Ezra Hudson. That was just her lawyer's letter saying like, yeah, I'm down with this. And here's what we've been doing to try and prevent this from happening.
Let's start with Jones and we'll take it home with Lively. Huh? Okay. What do you say? What do you say? Tell us.
That sounds good.
All
right. Third-party defendant Jones Works submits this motion for spoliation sanctions. Okay. By the way,
we talked about the spoliation coming a long time ago. You remember this?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. You're such a psychic.
I'm not. Was it me? It was one of us. All right, go ahead.
This motion arises from Abel's deliberate use of an auto-deleting messaging platform to conceal her role in a retaliatory smear campaign and to destroy critical evidence after litigation was plainly foreseeable. In mid-2024, Abel, then a publicist at Jones Works, joined forces with Wayfair Studios, Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, Steve Sarowitz, Melissa Nathan, the agency group PR, Jed Wallace, and Street Relations, collectively the defendants, to execute a covert digital campaign designed to discredit Blake Lively in anticipation of legal claims arising from misconduct on the set of It Ends With Us. They coordinated that campaign primarily through Signal, an encrypted messaging application, the very purpose of which is to ensure that messages disappear without a trace. They did so deliberately in order to cover their tracks, and indeed had a habit of turning to Signal, as opposed to regular text messaging, when embarking on a project they wanted to be, in quotes, untraceable. Abel admits she knew that the Signal messages auto-delete, and there is no evidence she took any steps to disable that function, nor preserve any of the Signal communications relevant to this action until more than 4 months after she anticipated litigation. Sounds bad, right? It sounds like, oh shit, you're in trouble. Just jump in, okay?
Yeah. By the way, I will right now then. Delicate just said that it looks like the manufactured beef between Hailey Bieber and Selena Gomez was amplified by these creeps too.
Of course it was.
I mean, Scoots was the Biebs manager, so Scoots was, oh, fuck's sake, these people. It's like they got nothing better to do, you know? They got so much money and they just need this fucking stupid drama.
I know. Why are you guys fighting with each other? It's dumb.
It's so crazy.
The record makes clear why the defendants turned to Signal. In July 2024, Abel referred Nathan and Tag to Wayfair in the face of anticipated allegations of a rift with Lively and the rest of the film cast. Within days, Nathan and Abel teamed with Wallace and his firm, Street Relations, to influence forums working against Baldoni and Wayfair to turn public sentiment against Lively. By early August 2024, litigation was not only foreseeable, it was actively contemplated. Notably, Abel chose both Nathan and Tag for Wayfair and Baldoni, who were then JonesWorks clients, over the express objections of JonesWorks founder and Abel's boss, Stephanie Jones. And Wayfair and Baldoni, in turn, hired Nathan and Tag over Jones' objections and against her advice. This is really important because she is trying to remove her liability as Jennifer Abel's employer. Jennifer Abel is saying that she doesn't have to pay any of her legal bills because, according to her employment contract, Stephanie Jones is going to be responsible for any legal problem that might happen as a result of Jennifer Abel's employment with her. But Stephanie Jones is making this case very clearly that her employee went rogue, didn't do what she expressly, told her to do.
Was hired to do, was paid to do.
Yeah, and that she was even undermining her business. So she's not responsible for any of the shit that she did.
I don't know how that can't be a reasonable argument to make. If somebody is like, unless there's a specific, indemnification for that in the contract between the two, which is like, if I tell you to do something and you don't do it, I'm still liable.
Exactly.
And there's a liability born from that, then I'm still liable. Like, I can't imagine any employer would make a deal with an employee, who was, I think, at this point becoming partner.
Yeah. So Stephanie Jones already lost on that. She filed a motion to not be responsible, because Jen Abel said she was.
And the judge said no.
But I think it's still, I think that they're still duking it out. And certainly there's so much evidence that supports Stephanie Jones' issue with it. Okay.
Well, she's certainly going to fucking defend it, and she has some solid ground to stand on. We'll see whether or not it's enough to win. But.
Yeah, because there's so many text messages where she's like, absolutely do not ever work with Melissa Nathan, because look at the trouble they got themselves in.
Well, okay. It was the straw that broke the camel's back between them, wasn't it?
No, I think
wasn't it that she learned that she had done this that caused?
No, I think it was Jennifer Abel was stealing
Wayfair.
Stealing Wayfair, but also stealing a bunch of other proprietary things in order to start her own, like contacts and business contracts and stuff. Logos, yeah, probably. Okay.
Did you just steal my logo?
From that point forward, the defendants operated on Signal. They used the application to coordinate the retaliatory digital campaign, communicate with journalists, and align with legal counsel on the narrative they would present to the press. That's really interesting, too, because legal counsel is all over these Signal communications, but they, more than anybody, should know that their communications should be preserved. It's their only defense.
Come on.
Why would they delete them?
No, exactly. It's obviously sus. And it's,
The The deposition testimony and preserved documentary record are consistent that Jones was intentionally excluded from these discussions. Yet when discovery arrived, the contemporaneous signal messages that would have proven Abel's independent role in this clandestine campaign behind her employer's back had conveniently disappeared. The reason is simple. They were deleted. Despite agreeing in August 2025 to search and produce her signal communications, Abel's production contained none from the relevant period. Her counsel later admitted that they did not search Signal as agreed. Only after repeated conferrals and court intervention requiring the Wayfarer parties to produce signals in this matter did she belatedly produce four trivial message threads from December 20th to the 23rd, 2024, months after the retaliatory campaign began, and none containing substantive discussions of the smear effort.
It's so funny because all the Baldoni, like all the, on it ends in lawsuits and all this other stuff, they're all fucking screaming, oh, you have no evidence, that's what's going on.
Yeah, it's convenient
when you read this, you can see that there is an absolute, like the judge is going to see this for what it is. If you're not producing anything in discovery from the point, or within the time frame of the actual dispute,
yeah,
then you have no defense. You have no defense. I mean, it's such a weird tactic because in the end, they don't have a defense then. It's not that she can't prove it. They can't defend it. I mean, I guess the burden of proof is on her, which obviously creates this problem for, and why spoliation exists in the first place. Because the whole idea is to try and spoil the fucking, the lawsuit by restricting or cosmic urgencies. All right, cosmic urgency. I'll see you tomorrow, buddy.
Oh, wait, he's leaving.
Like, no! See you tomorrow.
He hates the Baldoni shit.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to cover it.
We are covering it, yeah. We'll miss you, though.
Okay, this is precisely the misconduct that Rule 37E was designed to address. By at least August 2024, Abel was under a clear duty to preserve her communications. She admittedly contemplated litigation, redacted.
Yes.
Don't know what that is. Wanted Baldoni to hire a litigator, was connected to litigation counsel on behalf of the Wayfarer parties,
Friedman,
and was helping direct a public campaign targeting Lively.
Preserve the evidence.
Of course. Despite all this, however, rather than preserving evidence, as was her clear obligation, she used an ephemeral messaging platform to ensure the opposite, that communications would disappear. Her production of virtually no signal messages in discovery confirms her flagrant disregard of her obligations. The destruction of those messages deprives Jones Works of the very evidence that would have shown what every witness has already made plain, that Jones was never involved in the retaliatory campaign, and that Abel conducted it with others behind Jones's back and without her approval, well outside the parameters of Abel's scope of employment.
How the fuck can she be held when the judge ruled for Abel? I was like, what the fuck? How? Well, I have an employee that employee goes
rogue completely.
Yeah, like if I have an employee and their job is to put something in people's mailboxes. That's their only job. Mm-hmm. They got to go put things in people's mailboxes. That's it. That's all I ask them to do. And then one of them decides to go into the person's house.
Yeah.
And commit some kind of crime, however egregious or non-egregious.
While they're wearing your little employee vest.
While they're wearing my employee vest and they got the business cards I printed up for them in their back pocket. I'm fucking liable for that.
I know, it's crazy.
Come on.
It makes no sense to me either. Okay. Jones Works therefore requests the court impose sanctions under Rule 37E, including, at minimum, number 1, an adverse inference that the destroyed signal messages would have been favorable to Jones Works and demonstrated that the defendants, including Abel, conducted the smear campaign without Jones or Jones Works' knowledge, involvement, or approval, and that Abel's participation in that campaign for the few weeks that she remained a Jones Works employee before her termination was for her own personal benefit, that it was not in furtherance of and was outside the course and scope of her employment and not in discharge of her duties, and was not at Jones or Jones Works' direction, and the preclusion of Abel from arguing otherwise, and monetary sanctions for the cost and prejudice caused by her spoliation. Sorry, I did a trash job of reading that, but those are the things that she's requesting. She wants any jury to know that the destroyed signal messages would have been favorable to Jones Works.
Correct. Which is one of the remedies of spoliation.
Yeah, she wants a judge to advise that Abel does not get to argue otherwise.
Yeah,
Okay.
that the destruction of those messages implies that they had something to hide.
And that she doesn't get to
that would
argue.
have helped Blake Lively and make Blake Lively's case.
That Abel doesn't get to argue in court. That's as a result of these sanctions. That those messages weren't of any importance.
I'm so fucking curious about how that actually works, because then to what extent can Blake Lively's team use it? Like, so if it's like granted, and their attorneys can not only instruct the jury, but is that it? Is it just an instruction, or can they and I guess then it would be something that would come up in opening and closing arguments, and that would probably be it, because you're not going to put somebody on the stand for it.
Jones Works is also requesting monetary sanctions.
Or maybe you would actually. Did you destroy those messages? Yes, I did. Okay, why? So maybe you would.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to come up.
By the way, before you continue, our scientist said, just to clarify, the judge hasn't found for Abel. He just didn't dismiss the complaint. Right. So he's just saying, yeah, go ahead.
That's why I think it's still pending.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, but you asked, is that it? And I'm trying to answer it. Okay, so Jones Works also wants monetary sanctions for the cost and prejudice caused by the spoliation.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's going to cost. Anyway, there's a whole lot more in this document. I feel like it's...
well, we got time. It's only been 30 minutes.
I want to go over to the next one, because that's what your headline is about Lively. Okay.
That was juicy. I mean, I'm excited for how that all pans out, because especially this last point.
Yeah. So in the introduction I just read, where she says that they've admitted this, admitted that, that's what the next section actually goes into. But there is a lot of...
Why not read that?
Well, because I don't know if you can see this, but a lot of it is redacted. So it's like...
Well, can you tease it out a little bit? Because I'm dead curious here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look at this page.
So it's all mostly redacted. Is there any chunks? Like, can you scroll to a chunk that has a sentence complete or two?
Yeah. Okay. Section 1 of the background. Okay. Number 1, Abel used Signal to participate in a retaliatory smear campaign against Blake Lively behind Jones's back.
Awesome.
On November 9th, 2023, before resuming production on the film It Ends With Us, Counsel for Lively sent Wayfair a document titled Protections for Return to Production. And it was to ensure that Lively and other cast members felt safe on set, and a warning that if the production is unwilling to accept or uphold these protections, Lively is prepared to pursue her full legal rights and remedies. Baldoni and Heath understood redacted.
Baldoni and...
They later informed redacted. Okay? Deposition of Jennifer Abel, they state Abel confirms redacted.
Damn it.
I know.
Okay, go on then. Fuck it. I'm gonna sit here and I feel like I'm, like it's like you put it this close, I go to make a bite and you pull it away.
There's so much more. Here's more, okay?
Yeah.
As the film's release date neared, the Wayfair parties began taking additional measures in anticipation of potential litigation stemming from Lively's experiences on set by at least redacted, which he later provided to TAG for their crisis work. Within a matter of weeks, anticipating that their misconduct would become public, the Wayfair parties sought to engage Crisis PR. On July 25th, 2024, Abel referred Melissa Nathan and her agency, the Agency Group PR, to the Wayfair parties. Redacted. Abel recommended Melissa Nathan to work with Wayfair over Jones's express directions and convinced Wayfair and Baldoni to hire Nathan over Jones's repeated objections and against her advice. Depositions of Justin Baldoni admitting redacted. Indeed, Jones recommended Wayfair hire other crisis PR firms and cautioned Wayfair repeatedly not to hire Nathan because redacted. Jones also tried to warn Wayfair that Baldoni's image would suffer by associating...
Well, it's so interesting because the redacted is clearly there, like proof.
I know, exactly. That's what we don't get to see yet.
We don't get to see what the warning was about, because that would be irrelevant to this case, possibly.
So when the Baldoni supporters are like, she doesn't have any evidence, yeah, it's fucking redacted, but the judge is seeing it. The judge can see all this stuff.
Us scientists is like, yeah, the fucking redactions are taunting us. It's true. That's exactly the word.
Jones, this is juicy. Jones also tried to warn Wayfair that Baldoni's image would suffer by association with a publicist like Melissa Nathan. And Abel was well aware of Jones's misgivings about Nathan, but recommended her behind Jones's back nonetheless.
By the way, the image that they're talking about isn't the image just potentially in the public. It's the image of them in the industry, the image of them as a company.
Yeah, Jones Works is like, I don't do scab gross
You're going to
PR.
look really bad in the industry. It's going to fucking finish you in the industry.
Well,
that's
the
going to be
reason
the
why-
main concern here.
Here's the thing is that
especially with the film succeeding.
Melissa Nathan got her clients into a lawsuit. Jennifer Abel got her clients into a lawsuit.
For sure.
Stephanie Jones wants her clients to know, I will never get you into a lawsuit.
Correct.
You will be able to avoid lawsuits because you hire me.
Absolutely great point. I mean, it's a great point. I mean, who wants to hire a publicist that's going to guide you right into a multi-million-dollar, multi-year, life-draining fucking lawsuit where your reputation and your work gets dragged through the mud?
Yeah. Your publicist should never be telling her client to lawyer up.
Fuck no. You should
The
be
reason
like,
you have a publicist is to avoid that part. They should
yeah,
be
but
like,
the first response to that document that came August 12th should have been, let's see what they'll negotiate with. Let's see what room we have here.
but if your publicist is telling you need a litigator, maybe they're shitty at their job.
Well, what we did see instead was we saw Justin Baldoni in an email or text or whatever that was, where he's going off the fucking rails about how he's going to go to war.
Yeah.
So instead,
And nobody's talking him down.
and well, of course not, because this is bank loads of money for these people.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, he's
If he
still
goes
adding to the team. He's adding lawyers to the team. They're still adding publicists to the team. I mean, they're not, you know, it's just a fucking end. These people are siphoning money out of this billionaire while he sits there sadly saying, Justin's a great guy.
No, it's really,
He's a great guy.
It's true. Like if you work in crisis PR and your client says, I want to go to war, that's like dollar signs to you. Cause
For
it means
sure.
they're in a bigger crisis that they need you for.
Cash out right now. Like it's just straight. It's like turning on a tap of money. It's amazing. It's sad.
Okay. The next paragraph is just about how, more explicitly that Jennifer Abel was rogue, that she was not intending to work with Jones on any of this stuff.
Well, how so? Is there actual? Can you tell me what it is? Why are you trying to hold it back? I'm being taunted
because
enough by the redactments. You got to double redact them?
Okay. Against Jones's warnings, Abel and Wayfair onboarded Nathan and Tag to control the narrative around the film and protect the reputation of Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, and Wayfair Studios. That's a quote. Against Lively's anticipated allegations. All of this is also quoted from depositions too, which is interesting. So this isn't even, all of this is not just based on old evidence that we've seen.
Right, it's new stuff.
Mm-hmm. The Wayfair
Well,
parties.
of course, that's how it works. By the way, as you're going through discovery, you present. You know, depositions are a part of discovery.
Right, I know that. The Wayfair parties understood from the outset that Tag would be working alongside Abel directly, not with Jones or Jones Works on this assignment. The scenario planning document specifies that Tag would work alongside Jed Abel and her team. Tag knew and understood that Abel would soon be leaving JonesWorks to start a competing PR agency, RWA Communications, and planned to continue working directly with Abel on the Baldoni Wayfair assignment after her departure. Abel's instructing redacted. Okay, Case and Coslow discussing redacted.
I want to know what RWA
Baldoni
stands
deposition
for.
confirming he redacted. What?
I want to know what RWA stands for.
I don't know. Soon after, at Tag's recommendation, without Jones's knowledge, Wayfair teamed up with Jed Wallace and his team Street Relations to, among other things, directly influence forums that are working against Justin Baldoni and Wayfair Studios to adjust the narrative in real time and expose behavior of Blake, all without fingerprints. Deposition of Jed Wallace stating that redacted. That is exactly what they did, all without Jones's knowledge nor involvement. There is no dispute, and the defendants have admitted that Jones had no knowledge about and indeed was excluded from defendants' digital campaign against Lively. Instead, Abel, who planned to leave Jones... Okay, I'm not going to read that. That's a footnote. The Wayfair party's new litigation was imminent when they retained Tag and Wallace. Indeed, Tag's initial scenario planning document dated August 2nd, 2024.
So
that's
before the premiere.
a week before the premiere. Contemplated working with legal... That's a quote. To quote, ensure our narrative is properly presented in any and all coverage. And by August 12th, 2024, so a few days after the premiere, Nathan and Abel were discussing redacted, with Abel stating he redacted.
We also have the recording, dude. We have Steve Sarowitz on August 29th. I think that's the time he spoke with Clara Yu. And in that audio recording, he says the lawyers are in place.
Yeah. Attorney Brian Friedman was redacted.
The lawyers are in place. When the lawyers are in place, the first thing the lawyer's going to tell you is preserve.
Yeah.
If they're fucking doing their job, they're not going to be
they
like,
weren't.
They're going to be like, unless they're, lawyers to the mob.
Now they're going to get sanctioned
Then
for
they
it.
might say, like, take lighters to everything.
Attorney Brian Friedman was redacted, and Nathan arranged for redacted. Abel and the other defendants admit they redacted. Meanwhile, Abel and the other defendants began orchestrating their campaign against Lively on Signal, an ephemeral messaging application with an auto-deletion function, as early as August 7th, 2024. So that's 2 days before the premiere. Nathan and her employees were redacted. On August 12th, 2024, Nathan started redacted and instructed Abel to redacted, while Abel now claims redacted. It is indisputed that the defendants used Signal during this period to discuss the work Tag and Wallace were performing for Wayfair. The defendants did not just use Signal; they moved discussions to Signal to conceal them, and that is a redacted quote. It is undisputed that the Wayfair parties used Signal to discuss topics relevant to this litigation. Deposition of Jamie Heath confirming redacted. Deposition of Melissa Nathan confirming redacted. Abel and other defendants continued to use Signal in support of their smear campaign. Abel's admitting she redacted. Evidence only recently produced reveals that soon after Lively initiated this action, Abel, along with Friedman and others, were actively directing social media messaging intended to promote Baldoni and disparage Lively. By January 3rd, 2025, for example, Abel redacted. Let's see. On TikTok, that has been viewed more than 1.5 million times.
God, if I could just get a 1.5 million view. We got like 7 views on my last video.
That's Sage Steele's TikTok. Sage Steele, January 7th, 2025. I don't know what the title is. Okay. Part 2. Abel violates her agreement to produce Signal messages. Do you want to hear this part?
Yeah, I want to hear it. Yeah. Fuck yeah. Is it juicy?
Well, this is just about how Abel filed a third-party complaint for indemnification against Jones Works. So I think I'm going to skip all this.
Okay, skip it.
Okay, argument.
As soon as you said I'm going to skip all this, my mind went to those jump ropers, and we just watched them the other day.
Yeah.
And how they just like walk by and they just get into some crazy ass. I just started seeing them doing jump rope as soon as you said we'll skip it, I was like, am I crazy?
No, that's ADD.
Oh, is it?
You're very creative. Okay, this is the argument section and the final section. Well, maybe not final. I don't know. Whatever. Spoliation is the destruction or significant alteration of evidence, or the failure to preserve property for another's use as evidence in pending or reasonably foreseeable litigation. That is the quote.
Yeah.
Rule 37E governs the spoliation of electronically stored information in particular and allows a district court to issue sanctions if electronically stored information that should have been preserved in the anticipation of conduct of litigation is lost because a party failed to take reasonable steps to preserve it, and it cannot be restored or replaced through additional discovery. Okay. A party seeking sanctions based on spoliation must establish by a preponderance of the evidence that the party having control over the evidence had an obligation to preserve it at the time it was destroyed, that the records were destroyed with a culpable state of mind, and that the destroyed evidence was relevant to the party's claim or defense, such as a reasonable trier of fact could find that it would support that claim or defense. That's it.
Well, it's all it needs to be, because that makes perfect sense to me. Obviously, if they knew they were going into litigation, why are you deleting potentially relevant evidence?
Abel had a duty to preserve signal communications. The obligation to preserve evidence arises when a party has noticed that the evidence is relevant to litigation, or when a party should have known that the evidence may be relevant to future litigation. That's a citation of a previous ruling.
Precedent, yeah.
This preservation obligation requires a litigant to do more than refrain from intentionally destroying relevant evidence. The litigant must also take affirmative steps to prevent inadvertent spoliation. When Abel downloaded Signal for this matter in August 2024, she was on notice of potential litigation relating to the film and to Baldoni and Heath's harassment of Lively on set. Indeed, redacted. Which,
I feel like inadvertent is the word that could like break AI. Like they say it, they're like inadvertent, and then they just break.
Indeed, redacted, which warned Baldoni and Heath that, in quotes, if the production is unwilling to accept or uphold these protections, our client, Blake Lively, is prepared to pursue her full legal rights and remedies. And that was I think that this is in reference to her 17 points before returning to production. So that was way early. Okay. If that were not enough, by July 25th, 2025, Abel had recommended Wayfair to hire Tag, which Abel knew no later than August 2nd planned to work with legal in quotes, plan to work with legal to provide information to ensure their narrative is properly represented in any and all coverage. So, and by August 12th, Nathan and Abel were discussing redacted, with Abel stating he redacted, Nathan redacted, and Abel now admits she redacted.
All right, well, stop with the redacted. I think it's it's starting to get a little redacted in my brain. My brain is redacting.
Your brain is redacting.
Erica's leaving, but we'll catch up tomorrow. She's had a crazy day, so goodbye, Erica. For now, we'll see you. We'll see future Erica. Hello, future Erica. Great to see you.
All right, I'm gonna have a drink, and then I'm gonna go into this other one.
So Austin is replying to yesterday's conversation about editors. Late yesterday regarding editors. I'm looking for a local editor that specializes or has experience with memoirs and what to look out for. It's a very difficult thing to find. Like, editors, I think, are hard to find because, it's hard to know their work and the quality of their work. I would be less concerned about where they are geographically and more concerned with who they are in terms of talent and, what you can rely on as far as knowing what you're getting into, because I think editors can really set a writer back too. Also, what kind of editor we're talking about, I guess, is probably the first thing I need to know. What kind of editor you're looking for? You're looking for a creative editor. That's a much bigger deal than if you're looking for a copy editor or a proofreader editor. Somebody's just going to hit your punctuations up. So if you're looking for somebody who's developmental, then, I think you should try to remove as many barriers as possible to finding the right match for the project that makes you feel where they identify with, the writing and where they identify with the work. And then they're not just like trying to, sort of hook up a paycheck. So that's how I would approach it. I would definitely, I had the good fortune of having Angela be my editor. I did a lot of self-editing. So I had sort of that as my, which probably isn't the best scenario. We could have probably used a couple of editors to help us out. But I would look for, I would make sure that I'm not going to restrict or keep narrow my search and kind of force me down maybe a road I don't want to go just because I've created a restriction that I don't really need. I think Zoom is a perfect good place to get to know somebody if who's going to perform this kind of a job. Really, you want to make sure you just have somebody who really identifies with the writing as much as possible, and somebody who can understand you as a writer. If I've developed a lot of writers not a lot, but a few writers in my life, and I'll say that and I've also turned down working with a few because I got their work and I was just like, wow, this is too much of a workload for me. I can't figure out how to get this thing right. So in creative editing, you just want to make sure that somebody understands the book you want in the end. I think that's critical. Like, Angela knows my work and she's known it for years. So she knows what I'm capable of. And then she also knows, which is important, but not critical. But what is critical is she kind of understands my voice, like where I can go with it. So she can therefore really see where I'm missing in more nuanced ways than perhaps somebody who didn't connect to the artist and the material might.
I don't know that there's much value in trying to find somebody who's experienced in memoirs. I think probably you want to find somebody who's experienced in fiction, yes. Right? Or anybody who knows, who understands story structure, because that's really what's going to make your memoir readable.
Yeah.
Right? If you can write a memoir about literally anything, but your pacing and the movement of the story is good, then people are going to share it and recommend it and enjoy it,
Yeah, so you just have to find an editor who can relate and understand and be able to guide you in those ways.
But like you said, I think it really just depends on what stage you're in. Like, if you're struggling with how to organize your story and you want an editor to help you do that, that's a very different ask than if you're like, okay, I have a first draft and it's kind of messy and I need somebody to help me, refine it. Versus if you have several drafts in and you just need somebody to help you with your, copy editing or whatever.
You can go to freedomspoem.com and go to the contact page and kind of give us a little more details about what you're looking for, and maybe we can be more helpful.
Yeah, I think also
Or go to or just send me an email at
Sometimes-
freedomsplum.com, freedomsplum@gmail.com. Either one is fine.
Okay. Sometimes if you connect with people in a writing group in your area, you might find a bunch of people who just like suck at it and are trying to, pat each other on the back. And it might not be fruitful, but you might also find a really, really vibrant, super helpful group. And I think that your best option is to find somebody who's also a writer who does editing. You might be able to trade too. I don't know. It just might be something to explore. It could be worth nothing, but it could be the answer that you're looking for too. I don't know. Shall I?
Yeah.
Anything else
Yes,
from the chat?
No, we'll go. I'll pick up with Austin's questions later, but keep going.
I'm excited about their book progress.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of memoirs. By the way, I did start Guffrey's. I think it's Guffrey. I don't know.
Giffrey?
Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
The Epstein victim. I started her memoir. I'm on chapter 5. I'm ripping it. I'm gonna rip through it. It is. Whew, man. Yeah. Like right out the gate, you're just like, wow.
It's not a feel-good story.
Well, no, it is not. It is a very difficult read for me. And I think it's probably going to be difficult for anyone who tries to read it. And, look, I mean, this is definitely not a book you read to pick your day up. It's a tough one. It's why I won't read it before I go to bed.
Oh, really?
No fucking way.
No way, dude. Nightmares or just keep you up?
Last thought of the day is a child being used in ways you can't even imagine.
Oh no.
Yeah. So anyway, it's compelling. It's important. I can already feel the importance of it. I'm on chapter 5 and she hasn't even gotten to the point where we're going to start using, player X type names to describe the horrific crimes. There's absolutely nothing about what she's written so far that I don't find, credible. Like there's no, I don't know if there's anything reliable I can say one way or another in this regard, but I suppose that in the past I've read things where I was like, that's just not fucking believable. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So.
Shall I?
Oh, Shannon, yes, we talked about this. And she's, Dale, did you see my next, did you see my comment? We talked about it. We talked about it for like probably an hour last night. It was Shannon's suggestion that a book series about a kid detective, Nosy Jones.
Oh my God, I know.
It's about a missing donut.
This is going to happen.
It really has been on my mind.
I have a whole idea.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, it's really great.
It's been on my mind. I think though I would probably write it. If I did, I'd probably write it as a pseudonym. I think I could whip that kind of thing out. I think I could whip a draft of that out in 2 months, maybe. I could be editing that in 2-3 months. Nosy Jones and the Missing Donut.
It's so great.
That's a fucking winner right there, isn't it? By the way, go check out, and if you got 9+ minutes, before, after, or during, or whenever, I did put out a video for Nosy Jones today. The whole Nosy Jones segment. It's a really fun little segment, it's fun. I'm cutting the lives these days, and I'm really having a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun on this channel. People are I can't believe how much the community contributes. You're a genius. You just tell me to go do shit, and I do it, and it's funny. So I love it.
Okay, I'm going to start.
Yeah.
This is the memorandum in support of the motion for sanctions by Blake Lively's team.
Let me answer one more question. Could you guys write a book together? I probably couldn't write a book with anybody. I don't think.
Could we write a book together?
Yeah.
Is that the question?
Yeah. I don't think I could write a book with anybody.
I think that what would happen was that Dale would write and I would be his research assistant.
Or Angela would write and I would be her editor. I'm phenomenally good at editing.
Here's the thing is my executive's function is garbage. So I can't actually just follow through on shit. But what I can do is follow threads of investigation. So I think that what I could do really well is bring you everything you need to know about in order to tell a really engaging story about whatever, nonfiction, whatever, and then set you on track. I would even organize scenes for you. I would bullet point scenes and outline everything, and then you do the writing. But I would never be the writer because I've just over and over again I've proven.
That would technically be probably a writer's role. Most of the writing partners, and that's again not a thing I'd probably be good at doing. Because I would have way too, because for me, my whole writing experience is me understanding and formulating that, and being able to relate to it at a deep level. Like I always talk about knocking on, heaven's door, that it opens and pours out, to us the great gifts of art and word and language and song and whatever else.
That inspiration comes from like an
Divine inspiration.
outer genius. Yeah.
And I think that for me to be able to cultivate that is not as easily done for me, I have to become so deeply connected with the sort of incubation period of a piece that I don't know. I've tried to write with partners before, and I don't know if I'm capable of doing it as much as I'm able or better equipped to help writers realize what they're writing.
I agree that
have other writers help me realize what I'm writing.
It wouldn't be a great use of your talents for you to share the writing task with somebody else. I think that you are a writer who deserves to have a very capable research assistant. You know how like writers have assistants?
Yeah.
And it's not just like somebody that like goes and gets the right banana for them every day, It would be
must
like
be perfect.
No, it'd be like somebody who's like for instance, say you want to write this at the I love what is it? Never Say Goodbye screenplay is a paranormal love story. And if you turned it into a book, you would really want to, I'm assuming, like explore these paranormal subjects, right? Where you're like, what happens beyond the grave? What is the afterlife actually like? If somebody were to come back and report that to somebody living, what might they say? So like I would be really, really happy just like aggregating a bunch of information from a bunch of people who have already written about this stuff
quotes.
And then bring that to you for you to craft into something beautiful. But I don't think that it would help you at all to share the writing task with somebody, because I think it would just be you're so good at having a clear voice when you write. You know what they say, like a writer has a voice?
Yeah.
I can't imagine how you'd be able to accomplish that if you had to share writing with people.
Most successful writing teams that I knew had one person writing, actual,
right,
and then the other person who was deeply involved in story structure, character, even dialogue.
And I would love that. That would be my jam.
And notes and all this other stuff. But there's a weird, because there's a conflation there, because there's editing and then there's co-writing. And co-writing to me is somebody who's like, if you offered like, story structure or new characters, or there are actual definitions by the WGA to help kind of create guidelines for it. And they're not bad guidelines. In fact, Neil Gaiman successfully sued one of the comic book giants, DC or Marvel, I can't remember which. He had written for an existing franchise. And while writing, he created a character. And he said he didn't have to have any rights to that character as long as DC or Marvel didn't use the character beyond or outside of the scope that he had created the character in. And they did. So he sued them and said, well, you owe me money then, because that's now my character outside the thing you already paid me for.
I think that's
you paid me for this job. I made a character in this job.
Right.
You took the character I made out of this job and fucking turned it into money. You owe me money.
Yeah.
And then went chasing after it and got it. So it really, for me, set out set a precedent for me to understand a little bit more in sort of scope what it means to have a real contributing writer. So if you're somebody who, does something as much as, because I have, for example, in developing writers, come up with characters or redefined characters. I put characters on order, by writers. I'll be like, you need a blank dank and stank-a-bank, like whatever it is. I'll pull an archetype out of the sky. I'll be like, you need a shape-shifting, nice guy turning bad guy here or whatever. You know what I mean? And then we start talking about what that person might look like. So it's just important to understand, I guess, the boundaries and all this stuff. It's fucking crazy. It's a difficult thing. That's why, I just feel like it's always best to just have a writer. Almost always best. There are partnerships that work, but I don't know that they have longevity, because the person who's sitting down and hitting the words on the keys, that's the big job. Like it's
just like you, dude. Like you're so creative. Like I'm not creative. I'm like even when I do like artwork and stuff, I'm always like copying. Like, can I do it better or as good as this other person did?
Right.
But you generate ideas and you generate imagery, and that's just amazing. And for some reason I can't do that. So that would be your job. We would just rely on you for that. And I could be like your assistant information aggregator, whatever, research.
Hold precious the work, hold it close to you. And that's how it kind of, I think, gets so pure that it actually reaches that divine state where it takes on its own life. And when you get to that point, it's always about getting the work to that point. And you can do that alone. I'm actually going to be creating a video series for the writing channel, as soon as I get this one locked down. And in that writing channel, it's going to be how to create your own personal editor out of a loved one. Because, or a friend or a loved one, because you can do it. You can do it. All you got to do is you got to find somebody that believes in you enough to want to do it. And then you have to understand how to approach feedback, because
you can't get into all this right now.
I'm just going to finish it off with, you're right, and I won't, but I'll just finish it off with, you want to create this individual in your life, and it's going to be how you approach the notes that'll make it successful or not. So if you try to just force somebody down some sort of, it starts out gentle. Can you read this? And then you interpret. It's as if you know a special language. You can learn a special language through reactions to your work, where if you have an objective sort of relationship to that reaction, you can understand where you have trouble, even when they're not trying to tell you about it. So I want to teach people how to do that, because you can actually end up in I'll use a really tainted word. I'll say you can groom them into being able to give you more in-depth notes, because if you're reacting well to the feedback that they give you, they end up shaping the story, and they become vested, or they end up shaping the writing rather, and they end up becoming more invested in what you're doing. And it becomes really, and this is not something that I did with you, by the way, something I've done with people and have had done to me in instances before. So I'm going to get into that.
Yeah, you didn't have to train me to I eagerly read, and I'm very opinionated.
Yeah,
That's
well,
basically what you need to find.
You also, I don't think you give yourself enough credit for how actually creative and inspiring you are to work, and to not just my own, but your own. So whatever, we all put ourselves in boxes, and if I were you, I'd let yourself out of that one. Yes, continue. We'll continue. I hope that was helpful.
Okay, so this is the motion for sanctions.
This is the motion for sanctions from the great and honorable Blake Lively.
Okay, so Blake Lively's legal team starts with this introduction. It is by now well known that defendants texted and emailed each other about their ability to execute an untraceable retaliatory campaign against Blake Lively that would leave no fingerprints. Their defense from the outset has been that they never moved beyond the scenario planning stage, which was a blueprint intended to bury Miss Lively and her career. Along with their counsel, they have mocked Miss Lively's use of the term untraceable, even though it was first used by defendant Melissa Nathan in stressing the importance of leaving no paper trail. And they have routinely taunted that Miss Lively will not be able to prove that defendants actually implemented the retaliatory campaign, insisting that the sudden onslaught of negative publicity against her beginning in August 2024 was organic, coinciding perfectly with their plans by sheer luck. Meanwhile, defendants have hid the ball at every turn in the discovery process, either failing to produce documents or improperly cloaking them in the attorney-client privilege, forcing no less than 12 discovery-related motions to date against defendants and their aligned third parties. Now the dust has settled and fact discovery and depositions have closed. Two things are clear. One, despite defendants' clumsy efforts to cover their tracks, there is substantial evidence that the retaliatory campaign was, in fact, implemented as planned. And two, defendants flouted this court's orders and destroyed and or failed to preserve or produce additional material and highly relevant evidence, the absence of which they intend to try to unjustly exploit in their favor. Ms. Lively brings this motion to stop defendants from benefiting from their own misconduct as described below. First, defendants used ephemeral methods of communication, thereby destroying and or failing to preserve relevant communications in real time. In their depositions, most of the defendants admitted redacted, including as early as July. The evidence further shows that Mr. Wallace redacted at the height of their discussions of a retaliatory campaign. Indeed, this court has already recognized that it is undisputed, this is a quote, "It is undisputed that the Wayfarer parties used Signal to discuss topics relevant to this litigation." Accordingly, the court previously ordered the Wayfarer defendants to produce their Signal communications, including those of their counsel, by September 8th. They have not only failed to timely produce all responsive communications, but none of the defendants ever produced any Signal communications predating December 20th, 2024. Not one.
That is fucked up.
I know. For the Wallace defendants...
That is coordinated cheating.
I know.
That is pure coordinated cheating right there.
For the Wallace defendants, the reason...
How can it be? You can't look at it any other way. right? How can
They
the
don't.
judge look at that any other fucking way? I'm
They
saying the
don't.
judge. I'm not talking about them. They're going to fucking point. Everybody points their fingers or whatever. But I'm saying objectively that not one single party relative to this case handed in one single communication predating that date, which of course is so well advanced in this dispute and in the sort of area where the fucking juice, the tea of discovery would exist.
But this is why it was so important that they subpoena these content creators, because they know from those subpoenas and from third parties that are not parties to the case that that these communications existed. But the defendants aren't providing them. The defendants are hiding them. The defendants have destroyed them.
And I'm just saying, like, it's just like, it's so blatantly obvious as it was that Brian Friedman didn't file a lawsuit, but he filed a PR campaign against Blake Lively.
Okay. I can't remember where it was. Okay, not one. For the Wallace defendants, the reason for this is clear. They admitted to the court that they did not disable the auto delete function on Signal, even though Signal was their preferred method of communication for work. The remaining defendants cannot explain their failure to preserve or produce relevant Signal communications or voice memos from Mr. Wallace prior to December 20th, 2024. But it is clear that the messages are destroyed and cannot be replaced. This fact is all the more damning given that the waiver defendant's lead attorney, Brian Friedman, was a participant on at least some Signal communications with the defendants by August 2024.
I mean, so there it just becomes utterly egregious.
Yeah, of course. And yet apparently did nothing to ensure these key communications were preserved. Defendants further...
this is what's interesting, because, like, were his communications subpoenaed?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if he didn't produce... Because those aren't privileged.
I don't know. I don't know if they were subpoenaed.
Well, they wouldn't be privileged.
He's not party, so I don't know. I also remember that Jed Wallace lost his motion to prevent him from having to share who his other clients were. Do you remember that? So I don't know if he actually provided that.
Yeah.
The court ordered him to.
A scientist said that I would also like to be noted for the record that they also argued that they didn't have to hand over anything after 20th December 2024 either. But that would...
So they didn't...
So basically they don't have to turn over anything.
Anything.
They're like,
right.
Well, we don't have anything up until then. And after that, by the way, none of that would be relevant, because it's not even relevant because, everything happened before December 20th where we don't actually have anything.
Which is so...
it's fucked up.
It cannot possibly be true, because that's when she filed a lawsuit. So obviously when you have been sued, that's when you definitely understand completely that you have to preserve your communications. When you're involved in a lawsuit.
I want to thank lawyers, bro. They always give me words, by the way, like flout. Like, I didn't know what flout... Did you know what flout is?
Yeah.
I didn't know this word. I love it. I'm going to carry it around. It's like a little bird. It's like a little furry bird. With those feathers that aren't like quite feathers yet.
Yeah.
A little bird.
Downy
that
feathers?
I'm going to call flout.
They're called down feathers.
Oh, are
Downy?
they?
I don't know, whatever.
You're better than me. Flout and flouted and...
Better than you. Why would you say something like that?
Because you are. Openly disregard a law or rule of convention. I love it.
Defendants further contemplated litigation as early as August 2024, although the evidence shows that most of them were clearly aware of the possibility of legal action by November 2023. That's very early. Yet they took no steps whatsoever to preserve their Signal or voice memo communications until December 2020. December 20th, 2024. Incredibly, Mr. Baldoni testified that redacted.
Not redacted.
Incredibly.
Obviously, we know that that's not true.
Okay. Second, defendants produced no documents and provided minimal testimony about the work they claimed the Wallace defendants actually performed for their $90,000 fee in 2024, as to which defendant either feigned ignorance or described with one word, monitoring. No one, however, including Mr. Wallace, has been able to explain what monitoring actually involved. And more importantly, not a single pre-December 2024 document has been produced, either one, backing up the defendant's claim that all the Wallace defendants did was monitor, nor two, reflecting the supposed monitoring work that was performed. In defendant's entire document production, there are no reports, text messages, notes, or email summaries reflecting this alleged social media monitoring work from August 2024.
I mean, I love this because I
We've been saying this from the
I
beginning.
remember screaming it from the very beginning.
What did you
We're
pay
like,
him for?
Well, where's the refund is what I said.
Yeah,
where's the fucking refund? If they didn't do anything, because that's what they claimed, right? There was like, we didn't do anything but a little. Why were you continuing to pay then? Where's the communication? I cited the Christian movie. I brought on a fucking publicist. The publicist promised all this shit. The publicist did not deliver all this shit because they couldn't get, our movie in front of the right people that they thought they would be able to, some morning shows and this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so they stood there and said, well, how do I make you whole? And we had communications. We have emails, right? Back and forth. Yeah, they don't have any. Where it's just like, hey, bro. And by the way, that was a $25,000 publicist. A decent price, by the way, like a high enough up guy.
This is $90,000.
$90,000. Like, I'm not gonna. You don't keep paying for nothing. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be a communication between parties and there's not going to be communication that disappears. There's going to be communication between parties who are either not receiving anything for their money and then asking for something in return, or asking what it is then that they're paying for in the first place.
That's what this next part is. Having retained the Wallace defendants to perform a detailed set of, in quotes, untraceable digital services, paid the Wallace defendants $90,000 over a period of 3 months for those services.
There's no fucking way.
There was 2 times they re-upped.
There's no fucking way you're renewing nothing and dropping $60K. I don't care how rich you are.
And communicated with the Wallace defendants through ephemeral communications.
It's not a fucking Netflix subscription. You know what I mean?
But listen.
Yeah, I'm getting irritated.
And they communicated with the Wallace defendants through ephemeral communications intended to eliminate any digital trail. Defendants now hope to blame Miss Lively for being hindered in her ability to present the specific direct evidence that they destroyed. But
this is where the Baldoni files, not the Baldoni files, the Baldoni fans or whatever. This is where they went berserk with that line right there.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, she's got nothing. Told you she's got nothing.
Yeah, well, that's all by design.
When they burn the house down, there's still the ashes,
But as described in more detail below, there is substantial evidence that defendants indeed engaged in the conduct detailed in their scenario planning documents.
For sure.
And did exactly what the Wallace defendants and TAG proposed to do, the digital campaign as defined specifically below in another section.
By the way, keep in mind that,
which is entirely consistent with redacted.
By the way, remember that they found out as soon as Jones had confiscated Abel's phone. They knew right then that shit was exposed. So what do you do the minute that you think somebody's going to be coming into the house to collect evidence?
Yeah.
You clean the house. You hide the body.
I don't because I don't want to get sanctioned.
If you're somebody who is afraid that whatever is going to be found will destroy you or find you liable to an extreme amount, you might do anything to get rid of all that stuff, But what they did was they moved their communications into a shredder, right? Mm-hmm. So I think this is a very interesting. I think I'm not a lawyer. I think this sounds great for them.
Yeah, from the very beginning, Melissa Nathan was like, "Don't worry, it's above all, it's going to be untraceable." One of her employees was like, "This is all going to be, most importantly, without any fingerprints." And so they had this whole idea from the very beginning that nobody's even going to be able to have their communications.
It's kind of an interesting thing because I feel like they're backing themselves into being extremely culpable here, because if you're deliberately hiding, then it can only be assumed. You can only assume the worst. There's no way that you can you don't have any evidence to say it wasn't that bad or we shouldn't be held liable to this extent. As far as management goes in terms of liability, how do you turn to a jury and say, okay, we got to find them? You got to hit them hard because they're not only obviously liable, but they're going so far as to actually destroy evidence to hide from the culpability. So I'm just saying, to me, it's like they're backing themselves up into a worse corner in the same way that we knew they were doing that when they put out their fucking publicist lawsuit. Mm-hmm. We knew that was going to backfire. We knew that was going to come burning down one day. It was a Hindenburg just waiting to catch on fire. And we have another situation here where I think all they've done is they've backed themselves up. And when you sit around, you coordinate lies to the extent that they have. If you have a situation where literally not one single person has produced a single shred of conversations, which would be during the absolute heat of all of this, you see a cover up. You can't see it any other way.
Yeah,
right. This is when if it don't fit, you must have quit. It's a big fucking deal.
Given the foregoing, severe sanctions are warranted to prevent defendants from benefiting from their willful misconduct. To remedy the prejudice caused by the spoliated evidence, Ms. Lively respectfully seeks, number 1, an adverse inference that defendants intentionally deleted and failed to preserve relevant evidence that they had an obligation to do so, when they had an obligation to do so, and that the destroyed evidence would have further shown defendants' execution of the digital campaign. Number 2, preclusion.
I mean, so that leads to a summary judgment.
Yep.
Because like you don't need a fucking jury then. You don't need a jury because that says, hey, they did it. If they're not going to do it, spoliation says they did it. And if spoliation says they did it, why do we need a fucking jury unless we're just going to do that, assemble a jury so that we can fucking figure out damages.
Number 2, preclusion sanctions to prevent defendants from arguing that they did not execute their digital campaign as they openly planned to do, or that the Wallace defendants did not actually engage in the digital campaign services that they were hired and paid to perform, given that the destruction of documentary evidence that would otherwise show what the Wallace defendants actually did. This, number 2, doesn't seem very fair. What do you mean they can't argue that they didn't do the thing that you're accusing them of? What do you mean you're going to prevent them from defending themselves?
They can't defend them because you can't defend something if you're burning the evidence. Like there is no defense.
Yeah.
Like it's not that it's not, what do you mean? How is it fair? What's unfair here is that they destroyed evidence. What's unfair here is they're not producing the evidence.
I don't know what this is.
Like what they shouldn't have is a day in court if they're, you know what I mean? If they're not,
they could still claim it's accidental, though. I don't know. Whatever.
Really? You think so? August 29th.
I'm not going to die on this hill. I don't know anything about
August 29th, we know for sure because the billionaire investor says so on tape that they had lawyers on board and ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
So that was August 29th.
Yeah.
So the preservation of evidence should have been absolute at that point.
Yeah, of course.
There should have been no fucking... And here's the thing. Okay, so somebody forgot to turn off their auto delete. Somebody, not everybody. And this is where yeah, I know it happened to me too. Don't fucking do that. Now what am I going to do? I got that dick in my head all night now.
Okay, so listen, it's so funny too because I don't
even know the words, so it ends up going like.
Okay, but listen,
fucker.
Somebody pointed it out on the Baldoni Files subreddit because Deadline wrote a story about this.
I know. I've been reading it.
They reached out to Melissa Nathan for a comment.
Yeah.
And she's a fucking publicist. She made no comment.
Yeah.
Which is amazing to me. That's really telling. So Brian Friedman has clammed up. She has clammed up. This is all looking very bad. Dude. I know.
There's so much trouble brewing right now because they're about to head for a summary judgment. There's I don't know how you can't get a summary judgment.
Okay, but let me say this thing. So somebody pointed out that, do you remember when Brian Friedman was accusing Blake Lively and his attorneys of saying that they were going to delete text messages between, accusing them of deleting text messages between Blake Lively and Taylor Swift. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Where they were talking about how they were trying to extort Taylor Swift.
No, it was all over their all the Baldoni fiends were just freaking.
I know. Look who
burned that fucking bitch.
Yeah. Okay, but look who made text message deletion accusations. It was the guys who were fucking deleting their text messages.
That's how it always is. That's all we see now. We didn't know this before, that the people who are pointing fingers are the ones who are fucking committing most of these fucking crimes. It's just unbelievable.
So perfect. Okay, and number 3 is here are the sanctions that she's asking for. Number 3 is monetary sanctions, at least in the amount of Miss Lively's reasonable attorney's fees and costs for bringing this motion, which is reasonable. She's like, I shouldn't have to ask for this shit. There have been 12 motions to try and get them to produce.
What they said in there. So I don't know if this will be added in, but they said they went through the 80,000 documents.
Oh.
That's not going to be fucking cheap,
No, but that's just regular discovery, though. I don't think they should charge for that.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
I wonder.
All right, here's the background section. Certain Wayfarer defendants acknowledge receipt of a legal letter on or about November 9th, 2023. That is very, very early. And so that triggered an obligation to preserve evidence. So this is a whole section about how everybody admits that that's what happened. Defendants decide to, in quotes, redacted against Miss Lively in August 2024. I believe that quote is probably go to war. That's about the space it would take up.
Yeah.
So defendants decide it's redacted, but I think it's go to war against Miss Lively in August 2024. Since at least early August 2024.
And that's a good quote because that's a quote made by Justin Baldoni.
Yeah. Defendants have engaged in a retaliatory campaign against Miss Lively designed to bury and destroy her career. Among other things, defendants' planned digital efforts have included amplifying or boosting trends or narratives that are favorable to Mr. Baldoni or to manufacture and perpetuate negative narratives about Miss Lively. Fearing that Mr. Baldoni...
By the way, the former isn't so bad.
No, the former is exactly what your publicist is supposed to do.
Yeah, it's like, provided that the former doesn't include the latter.
Exactly. Fearing that Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath's misconduct on the set of the film would become public as the film's August 9th, 2024 release date neared, and look at how they made that happen. On or about August 3rd, 2024, Wayfair retained TAG as a crisis PR firm to prepare to discredit Miss Lively in the court of public opinion, should she dare to tell the truth about what happened. To that end, so that is referencing a Wayfair deposition and these are exhibits. So this is communications from somebody named Churley and Wayfair.
Churley?
Yeah, I don't know who that is. To that end, on August 2nd, 2024, TAG developed a document titled Scenario Planning, plainly already anticipating litigation. As part of this initiative, TAG anticipated working with legal to provide information to ensure Wayfair and Mr. Baldoni's narrative is properly presented in any and all coverage. In terms of messaging, TAG took aim at Miss Lively directly. One of the key messaging points included highlighting, in quotes, Miss Lively's less than favorable reputation in the industry spans decades and has been reported. When Mr. Baldoni expressed concern that this document seemed less aggressive than what TAG had conveyed to him over the phone, Miss Nathan admitted to Miss Abel that the scenario planning document was deliberately written that way because of the danger of recording their true intentions in writing. Shortly after her first conversation with Wayfair, Miss Nathan reached out to Wallace defendants.
We can't put it in writing.
We can't put in writing what we're going to do to her.
Destroy somebody. Do you know how, if that got out, what that would do to us?
If it got in the wrong hands. Shortly after her first conversation with Wayfair, Miss Nathan reached out to the Wallace defendants, TAG's regular collaborators, redacted, and shared details of Miss Lively's protections document on August 5th. That was also a violation of her agreement, because you're not supposed to share private communications like that to your publicists. And then they shared it with Jed Wallace.
Hang on one sec. So Victoria says that there was no cover-up. The Baldoni team had every right to lawyer up and protect themselves based on the retaliation clause she signed in the 17-point agreement extends to. Okay, so that's fine. But they had an obligation to preserve the evidence, right? Wouldn't you agree with that? Like, if you're going to say that they had the right to lawyer up, then didn't they have an obligation to preserve all the evidence? Why were they auto-deleting at that point then?
This is how litigation works.
Yeah, this is how litigation works. So they shouldn't have been auto-deleting, and this is why spoliation is on the table. We know spoliation was coming because we knew that the judge already said, you got to produce this evidence, and they didn't, right? So this is the problem that they run into, and this is why their case looks so fucking bad. You know, it's not about, there was no cover up. Well, then why did everyone's messages get deleted all the way up to December 20th when the dispute took place well before the release of the movie on August 9th? So if the dispute had arisen in 23 and 22, 23 and 24, but the messages were all deleted up until December 20th, is when you have that happen across the board, you create all the doubt you need, or you create all, you basically create the obvious, I think, implication that you're hiding something. And that's, by the way, when you look up spoliation as a legal term and you understand the remedies of spoliation, one of the first remedies of spoliation is that jurors are instructed that the defendants either did not produce or were known to have destroyed relative evidence that can only be assumed then would have helped the plaintiff or the defendant to whoever it applies. So that's why we're where we are, right? It's not about whether or not, they deserve to lawyer up. It's about the fact that they deleted and failed to produce evidence that they should have reasonably assumed would have been relevant to this dispute, since they got a lawyer letter in 23.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to continue.
Was that too much? Did I go on too long?
Well, no, not at all. I just think that it's important to recognize that part of this digital campaign that they're talking about is deliberately going into, I guess, what they determine as pro-lively spaces and derailing the conversation and shifting the narrative. So you should be wary of pro-Baldoni people who are following that program.
Oh, I think that she brought up a really great point. I think
Yeah, no, that's why I don't have a problem with what you said.
yeah.
It's just important to be mindful when you're being derailed.
Yeah, and I want to get to boom, boom, boom stuff. I just chose the middle part of their name, boom, boom, boom. They have a big, long name and boom, boom, boom in the middle. You'll see them.
Should I continue or
yes,
are
please.
you okay?
Yeah. We got to do the chat at some point too.
Yeah, I'm on page 11.
Let's go of.
Well, 30. I'm not going to read all 30 pages.
Let's go. Let's get on this horse and gallop.
Shortly after her first conversation with Wayfair, Miss Nathan reached out to the Wallace defendants, Tag's regular collaborators, redacted, and shared details of Miss Lively's protections documents on August 5th, realizing they needed an experienced social media manipulator on or about August 7th due to the uptick in social chatter. Tag recommended retaining, and Wayfair did retain the Wallace defendants for a rate of $30,000 a month.
That is so expensive. Let me tell you, that is so
5,000 of that was just because Taylor Swift fandom was involved. They anticipated. Tag employee Katie Case detailed the Wallace defendants' services with bullet points in the August 7th proposal, which Miss Lively refers to throughout this motion as the digital campaign. And this is just a short one-page document, and this is meant to describe for Jamie Heath what he's going to be paying for. Okay. And the most cited part of this document from Katie Case is she says the integral part here is to execute all without fingerprints. Because that's what innocent people do.
Yeah. So to your point, Victoria, right there is just an absolute admission of cover up. When you're saying something like we can leave no fingerprints, what does that mean? What does that mean when, as far as the metaphor goes, right? The metaphor is, what does the criminal do? They pull out a cloth and they wipe off the fucking, right? The fingerprints, or they wear gloves.
Typically, when a publicist does a really good job for their client, they want credit for it, right?
Yeah.
It'll be like, a source close to the defense or whatever celebrity it is says this or whatever. Mm-hmm. If they're saying that they want no fingerprints, it's because they're doing this. Publicists are not allowed to attack other people. That's why they're involved in a fucking defamation lawsuit. You know what I mean? It's like, that's just not part of the job. You're only supposed to be improving your own client's reputation. And you can spin stories all the time, but you're not supposed to attack people. And their entire program here, what they're paying $30,000 a month for, involves a lot of attacking Lively and Ryan Reynolds, which is inexplicable.
So
okay.
Victoria says, before you continue, Victoria says that she says evidence for what, Dale? There was no.
But see, you're going to get derailed if you address everything that Victoria is saying.
I want to answer this one. She said no evidence because there was no litigation, and that's not what happens when the minute that they knew that there was a lawyer involved, the minute that they themselves contacted a lawyer, potentially, let's pretend that the November 23rd letter, that legal letter, wasn't relevant enough for them to lawyer up and get into the preservation of evidence, which is their obligation to do. You have to preserve evidence if it's reasonable to expect a legal proceeding to come forward with the matter at hand. You have to preserve that evidence if there's a reasonable, so determining when that reasonable moment occurred would be important. And so we know that on August 29th in 2024, we know that Steve Sarowitz, because he said so in that recording that was just recently released, he said they had lawyers ready to go. So as soon as they decided to have lawyers ready to go, they had an obligation to preserve all of the conversations that they had with regards to this case from that point on, and instead they deleted them, and that's the cover-up. It doesn't have to be in litigation. It has to have an expectation for litigation or criminal. Can you imagine that you can't prosecute a crime because the criminal was successfully able to cover everything up before anyone knew he or she committed a crime, so therefore now they're not guilty? I mean, that would be absurd, right? Go ahead, Angela.
In this proposal, Ms. Case took care to note that the integral part here is to execute all without fingerprints, demonstrating that the decision to conduct business with no paper trail, including via the use of ephemeral messaging capabilities for digital services, was not an accident, but rather the plan all along. That plan has enabled defendants to hide, in part, how they implemented the digital campaign against Ms. Lively. Documents produced during discovery pursuant to court orders ordering the Wallace defendants to disclose their identities of their clients, however, show that the Tag and Wallace defendants are not only capable of implementing the above social media tactics, but they have done so redacted. Those documents include, for example, discussions of redacted.
I
Mr.
knew
Wallace,
I knew it. I knew it.
I know, Mr. Wallace requesting client call to redacted. Mr. Wallace expressing the need to redacted. Wallace saying to client redacted and asking the client redacted. When confronted with these documents at his deposition, Mr. Wallace redacted.
I think Friedman and Lawyer Up are in one or more of those.
By no later than August 12th, 2024, defendants took to the offensive. Using their own words, it was time to lawyer up. Get redacted and redacted.
Yeah.
Even though defendants touted their use of clandestine tactics to avoid leaving any fingerprints, they were not entirely successful and still managed to leave a significant paper trail that evinces their extensive efforts to engage in a retaliatory campaign.
I love that word too, by the way.
Lively's 23-page interrogatory response. Also derogatory response, summarizing and consolidating the evidence, demonstrating some of defendants' conduct directed at Miss Lively. For example, consistent with the scenario planning document's key messaging points, defendants were strategic and deliberate in successfully, in quotes, planting seeds of doubt and speculation about Miss Lively's experience on set, amplifying positive narratives about Mr. Baldoni, in quotes, designed to provide a contrast with negative messaging regarding Miss Lively, and amplifying negative stories and content focused on Miss Lively. Following the early August scenario planning, defendants began communicating through Signal and, as for Mr. Wallace, voice memos, which are the focal point of this motion. Defendants used ephemeral communications as early as August 2024. Consistent with their efforts to run an untraceable campaign with no fingerprints, defendants communicated frequently using Signal, an encrypted messaging platform that features auto deletion capabilities and voice memos that delete automatically unless saved by the recipient. Redacted. Just days later on August 10th, Mr. Heath emailed Mr. Wallace to redacted. So that's interesting. Jamie Heath is emailing Jed Wallace directly. We haven't seen any of that evidence. Pro Baldoni people haven't seen any of that evidence.
Nope.
They're being kept in the fucking dark.
Yeah.
Like, those people are being fucking tricked.
That wasn't in the evidence that they produced. All the evidence that they
These people are straight up admitting what they did and why they did it, but we don't get to see it. Judge Lyman gets to see it, though. Judge Lyman doesn't have any of this.
That's why I think a summary judgment is on the horizon here, because I just really feel like this is. Look, I think this is devastating to their case, because now look, I can be off my ass. I'm not a lawyer. I could be eating crow and all this, but to have such an obviously coordinated effort to keep evidence away from a case is just, I just don't know what other solution you can bring unless the judge feels the only reason why summary judgment wouldn't come into play, in my opinion, is if the judge feels like there's still substantially enough evidence for Blake Lively to have a great shot at proving her case. Which sounds biased, but it's in lieu of the fact that they've had all this evidence held back or destroyed.
Yeah. At his deposition, Mr. Heath confirmed redacted and redacted. The same is true for Mr. Wallace, who confirmed that redacted and redacted. Third-party productions confirm that redacted.
Yeah.
In addition, after Miss Lively filed her complaint with the California Civil Rights Department, the CRD complaint, and served defendants with cease and desist letters on December 20th, 2024, TAG created a new Signal chat. Redacted. The very next day, TAG started a new Signal thread with redacted. In a separate text chain that same day, redacted.
By the way,
so they're like burying further, even after they've been told they're going to get litigated.
It's fucked up. Like that is the deliberate destruction of evidence they knew would be relevant to the case, that they knew was forthcoming, and they had already spoken about luring up. They already have contact with lawyers. We have fucking Sarah Witz talking about having lawyers already ready to go, and publicists in motion August 29th. It's so true.
Here,
whoever said that it's shocking. Or I think it was a scientist that said they were just so fucking lucky that the movie worked.
Oh yeah, I know.
Because it's not just Sony. It's just like, this would have been such a slam dunk. Mm-hmm. And look, Sarah Witz would have been paying, bro.
Maybe Sony still will fucking sue them, dude.
No, they have no live. There's got to be something you lost.
Yeah. Okay.
And all they did was a win.
Next, they talk about how in January, this TikToker, Sage Steele, was coordinating with Baldoni publicists, and Brian Friedman was
Her name is Sage Steele?
Yes.
What a name.
Yeah, I know. And Brian Friedman was communicating too with Sage Steele. So there was a video that they're referencing garnered over 1.5 million views. In her video post, Miss Steele slams Miss Lively, accusing her of abusing her power, hurting other women, and claiming that Miss Lively's actions discredit other women that are true victims of sexual harassment. Signal communications from February, which were produced by third party, the Skyline agency, also showed defendants working with Mr. Friedman, his law firm, and Skyline to launch a website that would post communications between Miss Lively and Mr. Baldoni in relation to the ongoing litigation. We've read those. The handful of, this is redacted too, the handful of signal communications and voice memos that were produced by Skyline during this period demonstrate redacted. Despite this, not one defendant, including the Wallace defendants, has produced a single voice memo from Mr. Wallace prior to December 20th, 2024, during their implementation of the digital campaign. Defendants...
It's a cover-up, man.
Yeah, defendants admit that they anticipated litigation by August 2024. Okay, there's a bunch here. I
was looking at Sage Steele, and there's this, this ESPN reporter who's 52.
That's not her.
She's, cute as a button. Not her, huh?
Oh, maybe it is her. She is cute as a button.
Black girl?
Yeah, that's her.
What?
I know. Who knows, man?
So Sage Steele, who's
I think if
ESPN,
you get in the,
she got in on this?
I think if you get in the pocket of publicists, they start to pay you for your work or something, and that's what.
Well, they do.
People,
I believe that wholeheartedly, and then they get this. Then they get to hide behind. People just hide behind these fucking rules and laws and whatever else.
Yeah.
And they do egregious things, man.
But I've noticed too, like some people they'll seem like really great, legitimate reporters, and then there's like a very obvious turn where they start to report on bullshit tabloid stuff, and that's when you know that the publicist got to them, because the publicists are just churning out.
Shame on Blake Lively and the New York Times. That's what her post said.
What the fuck?
It's 7 minutes and
for reporting the news. That's so weird.
She's doing it was on her. I guess it's on her YouTube.
No,
channel?
I know, but shame on them. It's like nothing they reported on wasn't happening.
It's called the Sage Steele Show. Shame on Blake Lively and the New York Times. Shame on you, Miss Steele. Shame on you.
Oh yeah, whatever.
This was. I can say shame on her. Why not?
But, I mean, come on.
I'm having fun. Can I just have fun?
It's fun to shame people.
Yeah, shame. She got 213,000 views on that video. So I don't know if that's the video they're talking about. It must be on a different platform. Okay. You got more to say?
Yeah, there's just these last few sections. Defendant's obstructive conduct in this litigation confirms that sanctions are appropriate. Do you want to hear that part?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm all the way near the end here. The facts discussed immediately above were only recently obtained by Ms. Lively after overcoming substantial discovery hurdles created by the defendants. In addition to the 5 discovery-related motions with third parties, Ms. Lively had to file 7 separate motions to compel defendants' compliance with various discovery obligations. There is no dispute that each of the defendants used Signal as an ephemeral messaging platform to discuss issues related to this litigation. This court has already acknowledged as much. Ms. Lively first requested these Signal communications on February 20th, 2025. The parties therefore explicitly agreed, blah, blah, blah. For almost 6 months, defendants refused to produce any of them and forced Ms. Lively to file repeated motions to compel. In response, the Wallace defendants admitted that because they did not disable Signal's auto-deletion feature, no responsive communications remained in their possession, custody, or control. The court accepted this representation in denying Ms. Lively's motion on this score. Okay, blah, blah, blah. I'm skipping this.
Blah, blah, blah.
Furthermore, inexplicably, Mr. Heath, Mr. Wallace, and Miss Abel have not produced any of the signal communications that were produced by Skyline. Documents that were improperly withheld for privilege by Skyline and produced only after an order from the court. Nor have defendants produced any other signal communications or, for Mr. Wallace, any voice memo that predate December 20th, including in the August through December timeframe when they were actively discussing, among other things, an offensive strategy to protect Mr. Baldoni and Wayfarer's reputation and to bury Miss Lively, communications that strike at the very heart of this case. Legal standard. This explains Rule 37E. The argument, defendants intentionally violated their duty to preserve ephemeral communications. The duty to preserve ephemeral messages was triggered no later than August 2024 and as early as November 2023.
I see. This is what I agree with.
Yep.
You certainly can't go past August 29th right now. It's definitely beforehand in 2024, but we know that in August 29th, they said that they had lawyers at the ready. And I'll tell you this, when I got into my litigation with Leonardo DiCaprio, the first thing that our lawyer said was, keep everything. Don't throw away a fucking thing. We need to see everything.
November 2023, right? The previous year, that was when Blake Lively had that memo where she was like, I need these things to be done before I can return to work, or else I'm going to pursue a remedy legally, right? That was in her letter. They were informed. And there's evidence here that is redacted to us, but certainly the court can see about how they all discussed that part. So they knew. November 2023 was when they knew she was threatening to sue if they didn't go along with making it a safe workplace, which is, her right. When triggered, the litigant must do more than refrain from intentionally destroying relevant evidence. The litigant must also take affirmative steps to prevent inadvertent spoliation. Wayfarer, it ends with us. Their principals and Miss Abel had an obligation to preserve no later than November 2023.
Mm-hmm.
The tag defendants and the Wallace defendants had an obligation to preserve no later than August 2024, and there's an explanation about that. I'm just kind of skimming now. Defendants failed to preserve ephemeral
That's really
messages.
fucking great, because this is really important. This is as defined by the law, right? So the law is very specific about preservation of evidence, because obviously if all we had to do in the event that we were facing litigation
It's just destroy everything?
Just destroy everything that led up to that moment.
Yeah.
It would be a pretty easy way to get out of problems.
I know.
So obviously there's got to be some kind of remedy when these kind of Wild West type looters do it. Because that's all this is. This is like burn it down and we'll just say it didn't exist. And I mean, come on, man.
The ephemeral messages are lost and cannot be replaced. And that is a section where they understand that these are deleted. Okay?
Yeah.
Then defendants intentionally used ephemeral communications to execute their plans in an untraceable manner without fingerprints. The decision to use ephemeral communications was deliberate and intentional to prevent documentary evidence of their social manipulation plan from falling into the, in quotes, the wrong hands. Whether those hands belong to Miss Lively, anyone sympathetic to her, or the court. Courts in this circuit have held that intent under Rule 37E2 can be demonstrated where, as here, the defendants knew they had a duty to preserve and allowed the original data on the event recorder to be overwritten and destroyed or recycled without ever confirming that the data had been preserved in another repository. This is a bunch more legal precedent.
It's just so funny because I just think about what pro Baldoni would be doing if the roles were reversed in this situation and they saw that Blake Lively was just had credibly destroyed evidence leading up to a specific date, that beyond that date they had every sort of communication path and privilege in place. Pretty outstanding.
Despite being admittedly aware that litigation was on the horizon, defendants elected to communicate through signal and voice memos and possibly other ephemeral means. This is because an integrated part of their plan was to execute.
Sorry.
Don't trash the place.
That
is because an integral part of their plan was to execute their mission without leaving fingerprints or a trace. In fact, deposition testimony confirms, redacted.
Oh, shit.
Worst of all, as early as August 2024, Mr. Friedman was aware of defendants' use of Signal, as evidenced by the fact that he was included on Signal threads and did nothing to ensure the ongoing preservation of these communications.
I mean, that's just...
Instead, recently produced communications confirm that Mr. Friedman was not only a participant on Signal at relevant times, but even after the lawsuit was brought, he was directly involved in redacted. Taken together, these actions more than meet the requisite level of intent in the law. Miss Lively has been severely prejudiced by defendants' failure to preserve relevant communications. The prejudice to Miss Lively is obvious. Among other things, defendants failed to preserve more than 4 months' worth of communications from a platform that it is undisputed that the Wayfarer defendants used to discuss topics relevant to this litigation. This, in turn, has impaired Miss Lively's ability to fully prosecute her claims and to rebut defendants' defenses, particularly defendants' widely publicized claims that the Wallace defendants decided, after being retained, that no proactive digital campaign work was required, given organic online sentiment and redacted.
Victoria said that Blake Lively went to the New York Times and smeared Justin. I guess, Victoria, you don't understand that she was legally allowed to go to the press as a victim of SH and retaliation.
Those are protected claims.
Those are protected claims.
Yeah.
It's literally like
lawmakers
specifically
fought for our protection.
I want to point this out to you because it's very important that you know this, Victoria, that the law allows victims of sexual harassment and retaliation to go to the press specifically. It's not an implied thing. They literally address that specific node of element or whatever you want to call it of this of a dispute similar
And
to
I don't
Blake
know if
Lively's.
people forget, it's very recent history, but we all sort of agreed that the result from the Me Too movement was that if you see something, you're supposed to say something. That if you see somebody, you know, exploiting their position of power to victimize people and then retaliate against them, that you're supposed to speak up and let other people know that these predators exist in the workforce.
Who's going to fight for it has to be the
We all
people
agreed.
who are victims.
So Blake Lively is actually following the protocol that we all agreed she should. And the Civil Rights Department also agreed that she should.
We should back up and you should get into chats. I mean, there's a lot. Let's not go too far back because we're already at an hour 50 minutes here. So let's go back far enough to get we have some folks who are pro Baldoni. I love hearing from them. You know, I'm gonna stay level headed for them as much as possible because I want them to start looking at. I really hope that they start to look at the evidence clearly. You know, I saw at one point here Victoria say something to the effect of we only pay attention to evidence and receipts. Well, then why are you rooting for Justin Baldoni? I mean, you saw, did you not see the evidence where Justin Baldoni said that he's ready to go to war? You're not allowed legally to go to war against somebody who's filed SH complaints against you. Like, I just don't know if you understand the law. The law literally provides protections for SH complainants to not be retaliated against. And there's an obvious reason for that, right? Because you have to have a safer place to be able to come forward, especially because most often the complainants are coming forward against their superiors. You know, so you have to come forward.
I learned this too. This is really interesting about the Civil Rights Department made this very clear, where they said, you know, because a lot of people have been arguing about what was like, did she file a complaint? And if she didn't file a complaint, then it's not valid. Are you with me?
I am.
Well, the Civil Rights Department makes it very clear that, you know, in the case in which the person that an employee would file a complaint with happens to be her abuser. Yeah. Right? Like, obviously, that wouldn't fucking work.
Very difficult.
You know, you can't confront somebody if you're trying to complain about them in a workplace. That's
judge,
obviously
jury,
very sticky.
and perpetrator?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And so the Civil Rights Department makes it very clear that any complaint to anybody counts.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be filed formally, just in case it's a situation in which those people are the abusers.
Which is what we're looking at here. You know, Wayfarer was run by Jamie Heath, by Justin Baldoni, both of whom were the primary folks on the set. Sarah Witz also admitted in that call that he had very little to do with the production whatsoever, which is a very interesting scenario because I also believe that he had the wool pulled over his eyes. And now he's in too deep and he's just got to fight out of the trenches.
Who, Sarah Witz?
Yeah, he's got to fight out of the trenches that's been dug for him. But
I think they really managed the information that he was getting.
But I think But
he went on the offensive before he even had all the information. It's really
because
really
he, you know, that's explainable with his love for his faith, the Baha'i faith, and his love for Justin Baldoni and Rainn Wilson for that matter. The guy looks like he's like, you know, just completely. He talked about others being starstruck on that tape. He's like the cast of Claire's movie being starstruck by Rainn. It's him who's starstruck. He's the one who's starstruck. He can't get over these people. You know, he probably secretly in his, you know, when he was born and he was like, you know, he was probably as a kid, he was probably like, I'm going to be a movie star or I'm going to be a stand-up comic. And then he got to like age 12 and realized he sucked at all those things or thought he did and then bowed out of it or something. I don't know, you know, like something went wrong and he ended up being a billionaire instead of his dream. You know, because he seems like a miserable fuck, too. Just saying.
Victoria saying the real question is, where is her other evidence? If she's just basing it on signal communications, she's out of gas. Okay, so her other evidence involves Justin Baldoni admitting in his own timeline document that he does recognize and admits that the sexual harassment she complained about in at least the first month on set, which was 3 separate occasions that he admits to, that they did occur. And that he did hear her complaints and that he did not address them, that he refused to address them. He just apologized. Okay.
Well, he didn't address them according to the satisfaction of the CRD. Yes.
The CRD has a protocol that employers must follow when they receive complaints. And Justin Baldoni and Jamie Heath chose not to do that.
Despite being financed by an HR guy.
Yeah. So weird.
A guy who made his billions in HR software.
So if you're saying the real question is, where is her other evidence? I mean, you can start with Justin Baldoni's own lawyer's statements in his documents that he filed in court.
You can also look at
That's just one
the
thing.
text between Abel and Nathan. They're absolutely damning.
So he straight up admits that SH occurred. Blake Lively was a victim of SH on set.
Yeah.
She did complain about
Yeah.
these things. Okay.
Yeah.
That's in his timeline document. You can read it yourself. And also these text messages where he is directing his publicist to attack Blake Lively. I don't know why people don't recognize that publicists can't do that without being liable for defamation. They can't just go and attack other people.
No, of course.
They can only work for their own client. So like,
Which is why they have to do why they work a fingerprint business.
that's where her other evidence is, and I feel like that supports all of her claims. So she has claims of conspiracy and aiding and abetting harassment and retaliation. So she's got the publicist on that, right? So that is proven with this evidence. What are you doing? Why are you climbing on her tables?
over here.
And she also has Justin Baldoni directing them to do that, right?
Yeah.
So she has him on retaliation. I mean, really, I think that if he hadn't retaliated, if he hadn't set his dogs on her, right, and his publicist to go and do a smear campaign, which they have all, you know,
It would have been a bunch of.
it is
rumors
not
and
without
nothing more.
fingerprints. I mean, every time that they write all of this without fingerprints, they're putting it all in fucking writing. They're like writing
Their
out what they
lawyer
want to
went
do.
on a press tour. Their lawyer went on a press tour, and during that press tour, he said egregious and horrible things about Blake Lively.
You're not supposed to do that.
You're not supposed to do that.
There's laws about how you're supposed
retaliation-
to treat harassment
Yeah, I think
allegations.
listen, if she can't prove the retaliation, I'll be shocked. It'll be another like big giant like wrench in my confidence in the judicial system of the United States of America. But I think that retaliation is plainly obvious here. I think his lawsuit that got thrown out, I think the judge saw that for what it was, a PR stunt in and of itself, and that these guys were continuing their smear campaign under the guise of and the protections of filing a lawsuit.
Yeah.
And so I think that these are all things that are going to really blow up in their face as this thing progresses, if in fact it goes as far as.
Yeah, I mean, even just like contractual obligations, right? Like they, what do they call it? You break a contract. What's the legal? I don't know what the fuck it's called.
Breach of contract?
Breach of contract. Thank you. SC is saying number 10 in the 17-point document that they all signed and agreed to.
Yeah.
It states no retaliation of any kind during filming or promotion. So what, you can't sign that in November and then start a retaliation campaign in August of the next year and then say that you're completely unaware that this is going to blow back on you. Like you just signed, we
all read Justin Baldoni's email, I think it was, where he said that he's going to go to war. Like, what does that mean? Why isn't that evidence? You asked Victoria for evidence. Why doesn't that evidence mean anything to you? Why doesn't the evidence that he sent a text with Hailey Bieber, a headline about Hailey Bieber,
bullying women.
Bullying women.
And then he said, we need something like this.
Why isn't that evidence enough for you? Like if Blake Lively said anything, like if Blake Lively had sent any kind of message about Justin Baldoni that even hinted at that kind of direct, absolute fucking vitriol.
No, what he's
you
saying,
guys would be off the goddamn rails.
When he sends to his publicist in the very beginning of their campaign, we would need something like this, right? And he sends a headline about a completely different person. What he is asking his publicist to do is invent a negative story.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
This is not something you're allowed to do without literally doing all of the things. There's elements to defamation, and he just with that one message, he checks them all off.
Correct.
He knows that it's false information.
You can't knowingly create false lies about people.
He is
put them out publicly.
directing people to attack her online and damage her reputation and her career. And he knows that he's doing it. I don't know, whatever.
I mean, that's just a big deal. Like I'm surprised when pro Baldoni folks show up and they talk about the evidence and it's just all staring at them in their face. When you go and you look at his own website and you see the exchange, I always love using the example of the Taylor Swift trailer, because in there he literally accuses Blake Lively of holding up the trailer and then presents evidence where Sony is saying Blake's good to go.
Yeah, she approved the trailer.
She's attached Taylor fucking
No.
Swift.
Literally, the language is, he says Blake is holding the trailer hostage.
Yes.
And then the evidence says, Sony executive saying, Blake has approved the trailer.
Yeah.
We're all ready to go.
She's not holding anything up.
It's opposite day.
She's been in contact with Taylor.
I don't know how people get tricked when it's like literally on the page in black and white.
And
it says the evidence shows that the lawyer describing the evidence is lying.
Yeah, and not only is it in black and white, in their own submission to the world, but in that same submission, you can go see it right now on their website. In that very same submission, in that very same conversation, you have oh god, I lost track of what I was saying. God damn it.
That's okay.
It's just the chat's going a little crazy, but anyway, listen, it's all right there if you're willing to just look at the actual evidence. And what you don't see is evidence that she did any sort of thing of taking over the movie. You know what we see constantly in their own submission of their own website of the so-called evidence of the website of the lawsuit that I also have to remind you was thrown out of court. And part of the reason why it was thrown out of court is because literally in that lawsuit where they claim that she's trying to extort them, you have Justin Baldoni agreeing to let her into the editing room. To agree to something like that, obviously somebody has to ask for the privilege. So she asked to be led into the editing room, which, by the way, the evidence reveals. And then they said yes. By the way, that was at the, sort of against the advice of his partner, Jamie Heath. Jamie Heath, wisely, I will say, told Justin Baldoni that he should not let Blake Lively into the editing room, and he did. That's not evidence of Blake Lively doing anything other than...
You can't sue somebody for that.
You can't sue somebody for that. That's absurd.
You can't sue somebody for them asking you for something and you saying, yeah, okay, go for it.
Another big chunk of evidence here is when Justin Baldoni found out that he was not allowed into the editing bay, and he asked the editors who were what it was all about, and the editor's response was per Sony, not per Blake Lively. And you can try to pretend to yourself that that means Blake Lively, but it doesn't. The only reason that you're willing to try to burn Blake Lively at the stake for that is because she was allowed in the editing room and Justin Baldoni wasn't.
This is incorrect. The only reason why they want to burn Blake Lively at the stake is because Justin Baldoni has deliberately scapegoated her for all of the creative disagreements he lost with Sony. This is the entire thing. If you want to break down how Justin Baldoni feels like he was harmed at all by Blake Lively, every single one of those decisions is some creative dispute that he lost with Sony. Sony's in charge, right? Yeah. Justin Baldoni is in charge and Sony's in charge. Blake Lively's never fucking in charge of anything. She has to ask for permission for everything. It's absurd to think that she could actually fucking make these decisions.
Yeah. Boom, boom, boom says his ex-agent even said her behavior was extortion, and that's not what her ex-agent said whatsoever. And this is what I'm saying. Like, I'm not sure that you guys are actually reading the evidence, and I'm not sure that you're just not seeing what you want to see. What his agent said was that Justin Baldoni, described what he was experiencing as extortion. The agent didn't witness any kind of extortion or can't concur or corroborate any kind of extortion.
This is really funny.
And let me just tell you something about the relationship between agents and actors. Right. Because I actually worked in Hollywood for a number of years. I worked with big, huge stars like Leonardo DiCaprio and Tobey Maguire. And I was involved in a multi-year, multi-million-dollar lawsuit, not dissimilar to the one that you're all following and that we're all following together. You wrote a book about it, right? I wrote a book about it called Too Real a Hollywood Memoir. Check it out on Amazon right now. The reviews are through the roof. Some people here can tell you about it if you're curious about it. But to my point is that...
Dale.
Yeah.
The agents listen to their clients.
Thank you. The agents in Hollywood, they don't just listen to their clients. They're like an extension of their clients. They are like their clients' psychologists. I mean, it is such a crazy role, but let me just describe it for you. Basically, you call the client, you call up your agent with every fucking anxiety moment you have as it relates to your image, to your career, to your past, even to things like your psychological past. I'm too fucked up. I can't do this role because my dad hurt me or whatever it might be. Agents learn everything. And let me tell you, dude, their only job for their 10% is to support you. They tell you, they agree with your lies. They put the fentanyl into their clients' mouths, into their lungs, they are culpable and complicit with everything self-destructive in a client's life if it helps them make more money. Most of them. Others, good agents, are going to be sitting there. They're going to be the ones who are sitting there trying to get their clients into rehab or trying to get them to, reconcile with things that are true rather than false or whatever it might be. But the point I'm trying to make is that the relationship between an actor and an agent is a highly subjective relationship.
Yeah.
And that guy parroted only what he had been told by his client.
Which is really common.
And that's common.
Yeah.
And of course, you're going to run away and think that it's evidence.
Just because he's an
absolutely
agent,
not.
just because he's an agent doesn't mean he knows shit anyway.
He
admitted
said,
in that same segment that they unsealed for us to read. He said that he went to this set twice. And he said, and he was like, it was amazing because I never go to a set.
It was the most I've ever been on a set in my 25-year career or 12-year career or whatever the fuck number it was. So it was substantial.
Why the fuck do we think that this guy's any authority about everything?
He has
about
no
anything?
knowledge of anything except what paperwork has crossed his desk and what his client has told him.
And what Justin Baldoni
So there's
told him.
this guy offers nothing of substance as it relates to any evidence regarding extortion. And by the way, it doesn't matter if he describes extortion. Do you realize that Justin Baldoni sued Blake Lively for extortion and it was thrown out of the court? Like, this is a part where you come to this live and you say things like, we rely on evidence.
Yeah, he never provided evidence of extortion.
They didn't supply any evidence to prove any law about extortion, any kind of rules around extortion. And so it was thrown out of court. There was no fucking extortion. That is proven.
Okay. Listen, I want to get back to the chat because it's really funny. So, a scientist.
I'm having fun. Can I have fun? Is that right?
Yeah, of course. You're just shouting a little.
Yeah, I'm a fucking shouter. That's what it is.
Okay, a scientist.
I lose friends sometimes.
Has been keeping tabs because you know how sometimes we will rile up the other side and a bunch of them will show up, and I don't even know if these are bots or whatever, but they'll show up and they'll have like a script and they'll keep like barking the same comments.
Put her in the basement. You put him in the basement. Exactly. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be shitty, but it's just like the amount of times that somebody has said that fucking Blake Lively put him in the basement.
I know. If you think critically about that for just 2 seconds, you realize how absurd it is.
He's
a grown man. He can decide where he goes. Okay.
It's also a fucking promotion. It's not his fucking. It's not his personal prom.
In an event he partially paid for. Okay.
Yeah.
A scientist has been keeping tabs about all of the new variations that are coming up.
Yeah, great.
He excitedly says, we even got a variation on the I believed her until Justin dropped his receipts script. All of these different scripts. Okay. Here's another one. A scientist is really funny in this chat. I'm scrolling down to the next one. I will never not be amused by how much his own lawsuit backs up her allegations.
Victoria, I too have read every single document. How could you have read every single document and not seen the hypocrisies and the inconsistencies of their own lawsuit that got thrown out? If you've read every single document and their literal document that they said was all the evidence, if you've seen everything, then you know that Brian Friedman was on Megyn Kelly. And on the Megyn Kelly show, when Megyn Kelly asked him, are you going to fucking sue? He said, he's going to sue her to oblivion. And he said that his lawsuit isn't just any kind of lawsuit. It's a lawsuit with evidence, he said. Those were his words. It has evidence. That very same evidence got thrown out. When are you going to come to reality?
Yeah.
When are you going to have your come to Jesus moment and be like, holy fuck, Justin Baldoni had no case?
Hey, I wasn't done. Hang on a second. A scientist said, oh, joy, we're up to the Taylor Swift talking points. Because they started with that shit, too. Yeah. A scientist said, I always have a laugh when people pretend they actually believe Friedman's bullshit extortion allegations.
Yeah, it's the stupidest thing. There's not even a law out there that supports these kinds of claims.
He has backed it up with zero evidence.
Nothing.
In fact, I made a video on this channel where like I went out. I was talking about all of the Baldoni accusations that were debunked by Baldoni's evidence.
Yeah.
And it's like I did 10 of them.
Yeah.
You should cut that together so that we can refer to it because I feel like it's helpful. I feel like it's super helpful for people who say that they read all the evidence, but somehow Friedman's really weird hyperbolic distortions of what the story is gets into people's heads and they don't actually recognize what's in the actual evidence. You know, it's really important to recognize that I found at least 10 times, I had to cut it down, right? But I had 10 times where Baldoni's claims were refuted by Baldoni's evidence. Not even using Blake Lively's. It's just a joke.
Victoria
this whole thing's a fucking joke.
She says that I should keep in mind that there's a big word called appeal. I don't know why she's saying big word. I imagine it's an antagonistic stance she's taking. Keep in mind that this was thrown out prior to discovery. No, it wasn't. You have this silly notion that you think you've seen everything the judge has seen. You haven't.
No,
you don't know what the judge has seen.
I just read
all the fucking discovery.
I just read a big old redacted document. The judge sees what that stuff.
The judge saw everything.
Okay, but
you're the one who's in the dark.
Okay, Al Scientist said we really should have a bingo card for the PR talking points that are mindlessly regurgitated.
Yeah.
Get bingo. Congratulations, you found a bot.
You found a bot. It's true. Yeah, it's really funny.
I don't know how useful it is to continue to talk to people about these same tired. Like, I don't know how many times we have to help people understand.
No, you're doing good. You're doing great. We're going through it. I'm hitting her up as she goes.
I don't know how much longer I want to stay on this live, just because my butt is numb. We've been here for 2 hours already. We're in overtime. So what do you think?
Listen, I guess Victoria, if Justin Baldoni's strategy is appealing, then I think we know what's up. Like
that means he'll lose.
If your idea of like, hey, I'm behind my guy's gonna win. You know why? Because there's a thing called appeals, Dale. It's a really big word. You know, listen, man. If you're like, so what you're basically saying is, yeah, they're probably gonna win, but we still got appeals. That's not gonna go well for you. You know, that's just not gonna go well for them, right?
Everybody in Justin Baldoni's orbit has been so successful at costing him a ton of money on the destruction of his career and his reputation. Literally everybody around him has advised him to go against what is advisable, what is good for his career and his reputation, and they have benefited financially from that. So if he doesn't wise up and he doesn't start to sever ties with these people who have been dragging him further into this mess, I mean, like, he's not any saint, you know. He was the one who said he wanted to go to war, but he deserved to have advisors to get him to wise up about that kind of shit. And he doesn't apparently have anybody in his corner who's actually looking out for him. And now his reputation's in the trash. He had a fucking perfect career that he himself destroyed by wanting to go to war with somebody who accused him, who made protected claims in the press. He could have handled that a number of different ways, including mediation. Everybody could have left happy. We would have never known the story. But nope. He wanted to fucking lawyer up and fight, and now he's in this mess. And I just hope that instead of appealing, I hope that maybe one day he can start to rebuild some of the shit, the career that he built. Because it was amazing. He was going to be somebody. He fucked it up.
You're just dropping all this, Boom Boom Boom's just dropping all this hearsay shit. He's saying that there's a creator who's interviewing crew members on set for a documentary and says that the crew members don't believe her. I mean, I don't believe this person or you.
But does it matter if the crew members
I just don't believe you, because you know why? There's no proof. So what?
Here's the thing. Justin Baldoni admits that she was sexually harassed on his set.
There's no.
He admits that he called her sexy and she had an issue with it.
Correct.
And he didn't address it like he should as an employer.
And that is SH.
She's the employee and he's the employer. He's supposed to address it according to a legal protocol, okay?
That's SH.
He admits that Jamie Heath looked at her tits when she asked him to turn away.
That's correct.
And when she looked up, he was like looking right at her bare chest.
He had an excuse. He said, I'm sorry, I'm used to looking at people.
This is not good enough.
Talks.
Okay? And Justin Baldoni does also admit that Jamie Heath asked him whether Blake Lively would like to see the birthing video, right? Yeah. Of Jamie Heath's private home birth with his wife, who is undressed in a birthing tub, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. He went to Justin Baldoni and was like, "Hey, I think I want to show this to her." Justin Baldoni was like, "Yeah, show it to her." Nobody asked Blake Lively whether she wanted to see it. He goes over to her while she's eating with her assistant, puts a phone in her face, and just shows her what looks like fucking a nude woman in the dark. Okay.
Sexual harassment.
Like, this is not an okay way to.
Sexual harassment is easy to prove in this case. They're not going to have a problem proving it because, as you said, they openly admit to it.
Yep.
And by the way, sexual harassment does not mean that means she's entitled to a giant litigation with a giant fucking pot of money at the end of it. It just means that he committed the offenses that she claims. And remember that these are subjective. In other words, I can commit an act of sexual harassment unknowingly against somebody who might just be observing something I'm doing or saying to somebody else, and I'm not even aware they're there.
The Civil Rights Department allows it to count. If I make a sexual harassment claim, hearing what somebody else said to another person, right? It doesn't even involve me.
No.
But I can complain, and my employer has to deal with that according to the law.
Yeah.
Justin Baldoni and Jamie Heath did not do that.
No.
And that is why they're in this fucking mess.
Correct. So harassment is a relatively subjective thing. What makes harassment litigious is whether or not it starts checking off different levels of egregiousness, aggressiveness, et cetera, whether it starts to push near the border of SA.
Victoria is addressing all of those claims, saying that they were not important enough. It is not up to us.
I was just explaining that it doesn't matter because it's all about retaliation. The only thing she has to prove now is whether or not she was retaliated against for her claims. If she proves that between now and a trial or right after the trial by a jury, she's going to win easily. The SH is not issue. It's a non-issue. It's a slam dunk. The reason why we know that is because the CRD, it's a step you have to take to be able to put legitimately before a court claims of sexual harassment and retaliation. You have to go through the CRD if you're doing it properly. I mean, you don't have to, but if you're doing it properly, if you're going about the case properly, then you file with the CRD, and the CRD gives you a right to sue, which is what she received. And once she received her right to sue, then she filed litigation against them for the retaliation.
Victoria says the only things that Justin is guilty of is being a pushover and too nice. I need you to understand that he is an employer, and in the state of California, he had legal obligations to address any complaint, regardless of how you feel about it, whether you think it's serious enough. Those were the first violations that he committed, that he needed to address complaints according to a legal protocol. And when he didn't, he was in violation of the law. And it was up to Blake Lively to decide what to do about it. And instead, he fucking retaliated, which broke more laws. And that's why she cites no less than 4 laws in her lawsuit that are well supported by evidence.
If you're saying that he's guilty of being a pushover, then you're saying that he acquiesced. Then you're saying that he agreed to whatever he was dealing with. If you're saying that he was a push, look, I don't know if you've ever been in the ask your mom situation, go ask your mom situation, or in a situation where your dad says no or your mom says no, and you go to the other parent and you're like, can I have this? And they're like, yeah, go ahead. And then your dad finds out and says, what the fuck did you do? You went and asked your parent and what? This isn't that kind of a situation. Do you know what I mean? So
Victoria says you're getting all your information from Blake, and that is absolutely not true. Victoria, I have just told you about how Justin Baldoni's own lawsuit and own filings, his timeline document, shows that he admits that he.
Well, this is you getting pulled into their bullshit.
You know what I mean?
This is Victoria trying to create a distraction because there's nothing further from the truth there. We're literally giving her page numbers. The last time she was here, we told her to go to page 33 of Justin Baldoni's.
I feel like I'm arguing with a chatbot,
which was filed on his stupid fucking website.
It's
right
so
there, page
dumb.
33. We know where the evidence is by page goddamn number. So stop with that. We've read it all.
I'm not even referring to Blake Lively's filing at all.
Or I guess you could live in the goddamn delusion that nobody knows what they're talking about when they disagree with you. Or you could start looking at the evidence for what the evidence is. Your guy had his lawsuit thrown out of court because it doesn't have any merit whatsoever, and that it includes extortion, which is what you guys are running around the internet with like it's some kind of fucking, trophy, and it's nothing. There was no extortion. She didn't try to steal anything from anybody. The truth is that they lost control of the film. The truth is that she saw things that were going on that were inconsistent with the image that he was putting out in the world and in Hollywood. And by the way, that's a really fucking dangerous thing. It's the whole you want to sucker little boy thing, that pedophiles fucking use. Because you're sitting there and you're putting out this front, hey man, women are safe here. And then you're exploiting them, dude. That's a real fucking problem.
Or she's complaining about open mouth kissing.
So what she's saying is hey, this isn't what they say it is. Don't go in there. It says it's a barbershop, but it's not. It's a fucking guillotine shop.
Step right up to our guillotine
Step right up. We're going to cut your hair. Whoops, sorry. We took your head off in the process.
Okay.
It's not what you think it is, dude. You got to open your eyes here and look thoroughly at what's going on around you.
That ship has sailed, babe. They're not opening their eyes about nothing.
Well, I'm going to still say it because for the sake of anybody who might not, this isn't just for Victoria. Yes, Victoria's lost to us all, and maybe we should pour one out for her when we start our next live because she's gone for good.
Okay,
apparently.
Listen, Our Scientist said...
Boom, boom, boom's not close behind. This is very close behind, by the way.
This is a really great point. Our Scientist said the judge has already said that kissing without consent could be considered SA, let alone SH. Hinata said, and if it goes to trial, the jury will be instructed on that.
Correct.
Our Scientist came back and said, and he also already said that they've conceded that they knew her complaints, but didn't do a timely investigation. I figured that will play into one of her causes of action, knocked out maybe with the motion for summary judgment. I can't.
Well, I don't know. The problem with this is that the SH isn't really where this case lies. It really lies in the retaliation. Again, I think the SH is a slam dunk for reasons you just mentioned, among so many others. But it's the retaliation that she has the toughest thing to prove because she needs to find something that's, reasonably, that doesn't just infer that there was nefarious behind the scenes, spoliation. That can be a part of it, but she does have hard evidence. So I'm excited for what they've got. I wish they'd have been able to get some more of those signal chats, but people are cheating, man. because they're going to lose the game.
Hey, Dale.
Yeah.
We have to figure out how to deal with this before we cover the case live. Like,
Oh, yeah,
like,
we're going to get you sorted.
If it's a jury trial and
Yeah.
we want to do like a live stream, we can't just get derailed by people who are bringing up the same tired bullshit.
Well, I think I think what we'll do is we're gonna create. We'll do this offline, but I think we're just gonna create like segments where we go into the conversations, and if we choose to talk with these people, we do, and that's just a part of it.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm enjoying reading my conversations or having my conversations with people like Victoria, so that I can try to help them. Or people who are being convinced by people like Victoria. Do you know what I mean? Like if Victoria's sitting here making these ridiculous points, I want to like refute them.
There's also a lot of arguments about the dismissed lawsuit, which was dismissed for lack of evidence.
Yes.
And the judge did say there's a whole section where he's like, this is dismissed for many reasons. And one of the sections is entirely about how the evidence does not support and even refutes the claims.
And that the evidence is so bad that even if given an opportunity to amend their complaint, there's no way, based on what he's already seen,
That's right.
that they would be able to satisfy in any way the criteria for him to move forward with this lawsuit.
So the only allegations remaining before the court was there sexual harassment and was there retaliation? We are no longer talking about Justin Baldoni's claims about her taking over the film. This has absolutely nothing to do with the case that is present before the court, because those claims were thrown out for lack of evidence.
Yeah.
You know, Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively exchange a ton of text messages.
Yeah.
Before they start their dispute.
Yeah.
There's so many text messages. They're bros. They're collaborating happily.
Voicemails.
They are very comfortable talking to each other.
Oh, sure.
There is no reason why he wouldn't be able to show evidence of her making threats of extortion or threats of anything, demands, whatever he's claiming that there is.
He's not even saying.
He's never shown it.
There's literally not an absolute accusation whatsoever. It's all implied.
You've
it's
never
all
seen-
inferred. It's like, and we knew what she was up to.
Exactly.
That's what they're saying. They don't actually have any evidence. They're saying it's so obvious she was trying to take over the movie. Victoria says one thing. She says that page 33, nothing burger. Okay. Well, I guess, that's, you can't be helped then. If you can't read where he's acknowledging the fact that he did in fact commit the offense of sexual harassment, did in fact acknowledge that she complained about it. Like if you can't read that in plain English
It's page
and
33.
acknowledge it, it's why you're suffering.
It's page 33 of the timeline document.
Of the timeline document.
It's June 1st where they've only been filming for a month. So on June 1st, she calls a meeting and she's like, listen, I made these complaints, but I'm just going to put it before you guys again. She's being a real fucking professional about this. It's really remarkable the way she conducted herself with these animals. Okay, so she was like, okay, June 1st, she calls a meeting with all of the producers. And she's like, we have had this, and this issue. What are we going to do about it? Okay, that is the summary that Justin Baldoni admits to having this conversation and admits that these things did occur on his set. That is on page 33 of the timeline document. But there's several pages before that where he talks about all throughout May that she was having these he describes the actual scenarios in which these harassment allegations took place.
I'm telling you, Victoria, you're going to be like, when this trial goes down, it's like you're going to be so surprised how quickly that is like, yes. Like that's just easy. The hard part of this trial is whether or not there's retaliation. I think they're going to win that case fairly easily as well, but I don't think it's as easy as sexual harassment, because sexual harassment doesn't have a lot of requirements behind it, and they've already been met as according to the CRD, at least to the extent that her claims are legitimate, right? That's all you have to do is like, hey, do these claims warrant a litigation? And they did.
It's like all the hits, dude. Victoria says, tell me one other person that said something bad about him. These people are just unaware. About Baldoni.
Said one thing bad about him?
There's people that are unaware that he was sued repeatedly. He was sued so many times before this lawsuit ever happened. There's a lot of people who think he's a total fucking dirtbag worth suing.
Travis Flores, of course.
Travis Flores, Shane Norman.
Shane Norman is a big one. The reason why Shane Norman is so important, and you probably don't, have you read Shane Norman's lawsuit? Because if you had, you would have learned that in that lawsuit, Shane Norman describes how Justin Baldoni had a very similar sort of demeanor and like earnest to help him and to acknowledge his problems and so on and so forth. It's like a Justin Baldoni special, actually. He treated him, he said this guy, he felt heard. He felt like action was going to be taken. And instead what he got was retaliation. The very same thing that Blake Lively got.
I know, it's their
You're looking for a precedent, and here's the precedent in Blake Lively's career. None. There's literally none. There's no precedent. Never once has she tried to take over somebody else's movie. No one's ever accused her of doing so. Never once has she been litigated against for any reason whatsoever for not delivering her fucking her work or her promises as an actor. Never once is she being accused of trying to undermine other producers to become a producer herself. That's never happened before. That's never happened in her 26 years in her career. Justin Baldoni's practically new on the block, bro. That company is like 5 years old and it's been sued 3 times. It just got sued again. Oh no, it didn't. That was Brian Friedman getting sued by Travis Flores for
no, but they're being sued by all the insurance companies for lying.
Yeah, they're being sued by the insurance companies, and I mean, come on, it's exhausting, Victoria. You're so just not willing to look at the facts, and as a result, you get to live the lie when you could be living in the truth.
Oh, All Scientists said there's also there was a crew member, I think a camera operator on My Last Days, who said that working with Justin Baldoni was the worst experience they'd ever had on set.
Which, by the way, like I take with a grain of salt in any given day, because there are people out there who say that working with me was shit. Just because maybe we had a bad day that day or whatever. I don't know. What the fuck? You know, I'm just not gonna like say, okay, well, that makes Justin Baldoni a bad guy. But when you look at the sum of everything, there's a pattern. You know, I might have a bad day. This guy seems to be having, you know, a bad career. Ladies and gentlemen, you're so fun. Hey guys, the Forbes interviews. Oh my God. Here's the only thing I can say about that. Boom, boom, boom. I beg you, please. This is going to be the last thing I leave you with. Boom, boom, boom. Go to the Forbes video, the actual Forbes video, and then scroll to the point where Blake Lively discusses where she goes and undermines directors. And just keep watching it until that subject ends. When you do, you're going to find out that she says that she showed up to sets.
You're shouting.
And that it's okay. You're going to find out that she shows up to sets. And then when she shows up to those sets, earlier in her career, she would show up to sets after being hired as an actor. And that she would show up and she would want to be more than that. And she felt as though they thought they were having the rug pulled out from under them because she never mentioned, you know, anything about being a producer or having authorship as she likes to preach. And so it takes them by surprise. Those were her words. But then she continues and she said, so I learned, because remember, she's at a Forbes Summit for women. So she's trying to give women advice on how to make it. And her advice, boom, 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 is don't do that. Her advice is that didn't work for me. I found that unless I was upfront, I'm going to paraphrase, unless I was completely upfront with my intentions, and that is to not only act, but to also have authorship to work on the above the line back end of a movie, that if it was worth it to have those up front and lose a job than it would be to go up onto a job and not be able to express herself as she truly wanted to be in any given production.
And this is what's so weird about this allegation that she pulled the rug out from under Justin Baldoni by trying to become a producer. Justin Baldoni's not even making this allegation, because in his own court filings, he says that on her first meeting, which was just months after this Forbes interview, it was like the very next year. No, it was just a few months later. Anyway, that she, in the first meeting when she came on board to play Lily, she was like, hey, I would like to be a producer on this project. And Justin Baldoni is saying this. He's saying that she was upfront about what she wanted to do and the creative involvement she wanted to have and the role she wanted to play in the greater making of the film. So he's not even making the allegation that he was somehow surprised by her wanting to be a producer. He knew that from the very fucking beginning, and he admits it. So I don't even know why anybody's pulling this thread at all. Justin Baldoni's not complaining about this.
Do you know who the credited director of It Ends With Us is? Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Who?
Justin Baldoni.
Do you know who the credited writer of It Ends With Us is?
Well, the story is by Colleen
of the
Hoover,
screenplay?
but it was Christy Hall.
Christy Hall?
Mm-hmm.
You know, those are the authors. You know, it's just, you guys are you're blinded by a hatred. You're blinded by a hatred for a person you don't even know. You know, think about that tonight. When you go to bed, think about, ask yourself a question. Why should I have any emotional hatred towards somebody I don't know? Just ask yourself why. Like, ask yourself how it helps you in any way, how it benefits your life in any way. You're gonna give yourself fucking ulcers over somebody that you didn't even know, and you're rooting for the bad guy on top of it. I mean, you know, you can do better for yourself, not just for your community. All right, listen, I've loved hanging out with you. Boom, boom, boom. Go watch that fucking Forbes video. Get educated, dude. It's not how it happened. Let me tell you something, man. Blake Lively was telling people not to do what you think she does.
You guys are being tricked.
You're being tricked. You're being bamboozled. They put out a single clip that, if you just listen to it for another minute afterwards, completely clarifies her position on that, which is don't misguide anyone. Make sure your intentions are always up front. That's the way to succeed as a woman in business. But you didn't watch the whole video. You just got fed some food and then you regurgitated it out into the world thinking that you knew something. Take some initiative, learn more, be more valuable to your community. Come back here. We'd love to have you. I love all you fucking people. You'll never know how much I love you. But, I'm going to tell you every time before I go, which is right now, goodbye.